Hey guys and welcome back to my channel. This is part 1 of What If Naruto Was in Hellsing. Before we begin, don't forget to like, share and subscribe, and also go and support the author, link in description. With Naruto. It was late night as Naruto Uzumaki, a boy of 12 years old, sat in a small clearing with a small shack behind him. He stood at about 4 feet 10, spiky blonde hair, deep sea blue eyes, 3 whisker-like marks mirrored each cheek, wearing a bright orange jumpsuit. In front of him lay the infamous Forbidden Scroll. His sensei Mizuki asked him to acquire the scroll so he could pass on to Genin status. He took the scroll over an hour ago and learned Shadow Clone Jutsu as well as the Exploding Clone and Shuriken Clone Jutsus. It would be another 2 hours before Mizuki showed up so Naruto could pass. Contrary to the belief of most villagers, Naruto was not dense and he was not stupid. He was in fact almost as smart as Shikamaru when that bum wasn't watching clouds or napping. He held back so the bastards on the council wouldn't make things harder for him. Naruto's real talents lay on practical instead of theory and history. Sure, he was book smart, but he also grew up street smart and learned things that would make the snake mistress blush. Naruto also had the skills of a low-level chunin, the chakra control of a high genin and the chakra of a mid-jonin. What to do? What to do? I have a while before Mizuki-sensei gets here and I'm sure anything past what I learned is almost too hard for me to do. What the hell? Said Naruto as he unraveled the scroll a bit further. He was close to calling it quits when he felt a small pulse come from a small seal he overlooked. It looked like a coat of arms. The upper right and lower left were black, while the bottom right held a rook from the old game chess in gold surrounded by red. In the upper left corner it in black were the words, "We are on a mission from God." Strange. Why did I feel this pulse of power rush over me when I look at this thing? Thought Naruto. Naruto didn't ponder any longer as the call grew too strong to ignore any longer. Naruto bit his thumb on his abnormally large K9s and swept it across the coat of arms. 4 things popped out: a photo, a large envelope with the coat of arms stamped on the front and sealed with a strange design on the back, and 2 strange weapons. Both identical in everything but color. Both weapons were 15.21 inches long. The one on the right was a polished silver with Hellsing inscribed on it, while the other was pure black and looked rather intimidating. Both had that appeared to be handles and other various parts Naruto had yet to discover. Naruto studied the strange weapons for the better part of the hour before stuffing them into a backpack he brought with him along with the photo and envelope. Naruto looked at the scroll once more and saw a few simple words that he would later understand as fact. The heir of the most powerful vampire in the House of Hellsing has come. In Naruto's mind, Kyubi was disturbed from her slumber by a powerful force. She looked around and smelt something that even demons could not stand against without fearing death. Vampire, and not just any. You, said Kyubi, rising. Ha 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 ha. It's been a long time, Kyubi, but I'm not here to get into a battle. I'm here for a little deal, said a shadowed figure. Speak before I lose my temper, Alucard of Hellsing, or should I say Dracula, said Kyubi with a stiff smirk on her lips. I'm glad you remember me, Kyubi, or should I call you by your real name, Yoko, said the man now known as Alucard with a bow and laugh. Back outside. Naruto was just closing the scroll when Iruka jumped out a tree. He looked mad. Naruto thought of Iruka as an older father. Iruka even offered to adopt Naruto when he was 8, but the council would not allow it, saying Iruka was not ready to handle parental responsibilities. The truth was they didn't want Naruto to be happy. Even still, Naruto stayed with Iruka from time to time. Naruto, you dumb ass. Why did you steal the scroll? Do you realize how much trouble you'll be in later for this stunt you just pulled? Asked Iruka in a clearly pissed off and disappointed tone of voice. Now Naruto was confused. Iruka-sensei, I thought that if I learned one jutsu I could become a genin, said Naruto looking at Iruka annoyed. Naruto, it would be another 2 mouths before you could even try the test again, said Iruka making his eyes go wide. Damn it. That bastard Mizuki used my wanting to become a genin to his advantage, and worse, I walked into it like a fool. I shouldn't have let my desire to become a genin overpower my common sense, thought Naruto as a large shuriken flew at Naruto. Okay, this part follows the anime up until Naruto is behind the tree. Naruto watched as Mizuki prepared to throw the shuriken at one of the only people he could call family. He wanted to move, but finding out about the Kyubi, it was a bit hard to move. You're right about monsters, but Naruto isn't a monster. He's my most hard-working student. A person who would kill me before he says I give up. He's the person I would be most proud to call brother or son. That's how much I care for him, because despite what bastards like you do, he's still himself. He is Naruto Uzumaki of the village hidden in the leaves, said Iruka with a proud smile on his face. Mizuki saw red after hearing this. Spare me the melodrama. After I kill you, the little fox bastard is going to die. Yelled Mizuki, charging Iruka. Everything froze around Naruto as he saw Iruka getting attacked. He wanted to help, but he knew he's only get himself along with Iruka killed in his current state. He just felt so useless hanging back and watching as the closet person to him was about to die. Hum hum hum. You knew it's a bit amusing to watch humans as they are, but you aren't a normal human. No, far from it, came a strong voice in Naruto's mind. Are you the Kyuubi? Asked Naruto. His only response was a full-blown laughter in his mind. Sorry to disappoint, but I'm not that demon bitch. No, I'm your ancestor. I'm only here for a few minutes to tell you to get off your ass and protect that man, came the voice. But, started Naruto only to be cut off. Fear is a powerful motivation, young one. Show that fool Mizuki that you fear nothing. Move and fight Naruto Uzumaki Hellsing. Awaken, said the voice before it faded. Naruto's eyes closed for a few minutes before they shot open and became blood red. Naruto reached into his backpack and grabbed the two weapons he somehow knew to work and call guns. He pointed them at Mizuki and pulled the trigger on both. The effect was instant. The large shuriken in Mizuki's hand shattered and his right shoulder was hit. Mizuki spun around and glared at where the shots came from. Spotting Naruto. So Kyuubi, you desired to fight me, huh? Don't matter. You're still not at your full power even with your black arts, said Mizuki, taking the other shuriken. Naruto held the guns up, crossing them. There is no Kyuubi here, you bastard. I'll send you to hell with your head in your arms. Remember my name as I send you to the pits of hell for your crimes. My name is Naruto Uzumaki Hellsing, said Naruto as he fired dual shots. One hit Mizuki in the left side of his face and the other hit his right kneecap, nearly blowing it off. Mizuki fell to the ground with a scream. Naruto then turned to a stunned Iruka. Iruka looked at Naruto with a little bit of awe as well as fear. He said Kyuubi wasn't in control, but that didn't stop the fear that ran through his blood as Naruto's eyes turned from red to a dull purple to his sea blue. Naruto then put the two weapons onto his side. Are you alright, Iruka-sen? Oni-san, said Naruto, making Iruka smile. Hi Naruto-kun. Close your eyes for a second. Naruto did as he was told until Iruka told him to open his eyes. When he did, he found that Iruka had his goggles in his hand with a smile on his face. Congrats Naruto-kun, you are an official genin. I'm proud of you, said Iruka with a smile on his face. Naruto couldn't help but jump up into the air. Thank you Iruka Oni-san, said Naruto, giving Iruka a hug. In the Hokage's office, Sasuke Sarutobi had just sent his most trusted Anbu to retrieve Mizuki along with Naruto, Iruka, and the scroll. Naruto and Iruka being their top concern. He was brought out of his thoughts as all the lights dimmed and a woman walked in. She stood at just about 5 feet 6 inches, blonde hair that fell to just under her neck, angelic face, red eyes, enormous bust about D-cup. She wore a black form-fitting no-sleeve shirt, long black gloves that came up to her biceps, a black skirt that stopped at mid-thigh, black boots that stopped just above her knee. On her shoulders was a small blue scarf and a white jacket with no sleeves. How may I help you, miss? Started Sarutobi. Victoria. Sarah's Victoria. I'm here for one person, Naruto Uzumaki Hellsing, said Sarah's with a bit of an accent to her speech that made her seem foreign. Why would that be, Victoria-san? It is common knowledge had not May liked Naruto, said Sarutobi, preparing to attack this woman if she posed a threat to Naruto in any form or fashion. Sarah's eyes turned bright red as the Hokage was put into a minor state of hypnosis. Now Hokage-sama, or should I say Sarutobi. That's my secret. All you know is that you have a Jonin under the name of Sarah's Victoria, who is a very accomplished and powerful shinobi and has wanted a team for a little over a year since she turned 18. She is also listed in Rock's bingo book after she killed off a big weapons dealer who helped them during the last war. An A-rank threat nicknamed the Vampire for her love of blood, said Sarah's before leaving. Soon there will be a new Hellsing organization, thought Sarah's. Naruto sat in the Hokage's office, while Iruka was taken to the hospital to get treated for his injuries. Sarutobi lit his pipe and took a small drag. Naruto knew that when Sarutobi did that he was in lecture mode. First of all, Naruto, I would like to congratulate you on not only becoming a genin, but getting it on a field promotion. I must say it's been a few years since one was given. The last one given out was to the 4th Hokage, said Sarutobi, making Naruto's eyes go wide. Next up, I'd also like to tell you that you completed 2 missions. Exposing a traitor and protecting village secrets. The first being a mid-B rank mission and the second being a high S rank mission. You will be paid the mission pay for both, which comes to just over 340,000 Ryu, said Sarutobi, making Naruto's eyes wide. Naruto calmed down and looked at Sarutobi. Excuse me, old man, but can you tell me about the seal that said Hellsing? Said Naruto, remembering the feeling of power it held and the voice he heard in his head. Sarutobi's eyes went wide hearing that name. Naruto, the House of Hellsing is older than any clan in this village. In fact, it predates most of the hidden villages, the oldest being the village hidden in the cloud. Them going back to just over 300 years ago. All I know is that the head of house at the time had something sealed into the scroll and we assumed that only the heir of Hellsing could release it. Why? Asked Sarutobi as Naruto pulled out one of his guns. Because I think I'm the heir of the Hellsing family, said Naruto with a grin, shocking the Hokage. This kid is going to give me a heart attack one day and I haven't even finished the first Come Come Paradise book set yet, thought Sarutobi taking a drag of his pipe. Then you are the head of the noblest family in Konoha at this moment in time. The council will have to be informed of this right away, said Sarutobi, fearing the paperwork that was sure to come later. Do we have to inform those pricks? Asked Naruto, crossing his arms. As much as I hate to say it, they must be informed of your family status. It may cause problems if no one knows, and the civilian council will want your clan up and running. Also, the academy starts on up again in a week, so be there on time to find out who's on your team, said Sarutobi, looking at some paperwork. Naruto grinned. You knew me, old man, said Naruto, walking out. That's what has me worried, said Sarutobi, taking another drag of his pipe. Naruto's home. Naruto smiled as he walked into his apartment building. The last owner died about a year after Naruto moved in. After that happened, not many people stayed except for a kind lady who was a retired shinobi and liked Naruto. Naruto convinced Sarutobi to buy the place, or his wife was going to find out about his little orange book collection that was behind the picture of him. The apartment was blue in color, but Naruto lived in the penthouse on the 5th floor. It covered most of the top floor after he knocked in a few walls. The walls of his penthouse were sea blue to match his eyes. On the far wall was a long black couch. Near the door sat a roundabout couch. Closer to the hallway leading to his room was a bar that he set up. It also helped that the kitchen was next to the bar. He walked down the hallway and into his room. His room was rather normal. He had a king-sided bed with red sheets, books and scrolls on a 5-shelf bookcase, a small desk with notes on it, his walls were blue, and his closet had a few formal kimonos in it. The only thing abnormal about his room was the fact that in his bed lay a mass of pink hair. Naruto walked over to the mass of pink hair and gently shook it. I'm all for sleeping, but you got to get up, Sakura-chan, said Naruto with a grin. Sakura sat up, yawning, and rubbed the sand out of her green eyes. She stood at 4 feet 10. Shapely figure with B-cup breasts, pink hair that fell to the middle of her back. The only thing she had on was a white sports bra and black panties. Contrary to what most believed, Sakura and Naruto were siblings in all but blood. Morning, Naruto-kun, said Sakura with a smile. Morning, Sakura-chan. Rough night? Asked Naruto, kissing her on the top of her head. Sakura snorted. My mother had 3 clients over last night. One of them asked if I was available to work. She agreed to let him try me after she got her fucking money in. Sometimes I wonder why I was born form that whore Haruno, said Sakura, shaking her head. Don't worry about it, Sakura-chan. Now that we're genin, you can move out of her place and rent an apartment from me, said Naruto with a smile. So you made it, huh? Said Sakura, standing up and taking off her sports bra, not at all concreted about Naruto looking at her. Before she grabbed a pink tee and put it on. Yeah, and next time tell me you're changing so I can turn away. I still think of you as my baby sister. Anyway, we can drop the acts and genjutsus now. We can be real, said Naruto, making Sakura jump for joy. Finally. Do you know what a pain it is to act like one of Sasuke Tem's loyal little whores? I hated it. I'm just glad he never wanted to try anything, said Sakura. Hum. I knew what you mean. You hit hard, girl. But I wonder why you Ino so, said Naruto with a grin as Sakura smiled. So what? I want to fuck Ino's brains out. You know that much, Naruto-kun, said Sakura with a perverted grin on her face. Yeah, anyway, you'd better get before that slew. I mean, your mother starts to worry about her little girl, said Naruto as Sakura pulled on some blue jeans and applied the genjutsu to cover her breasts. Later, said Sakura, walking out and locking the door. Naruto pulled his backpack off and took out the envelope and photo. Naruto looked at the photo. In the photo you could see 5 people. The first was an old man with a bald head and a scar on his face. He wore a green uniform with the Hellsing coat of arms on his front. Next up was a girl that looked 19 with red eyes wearing a blue uniform. The next person was a woman who appeared to be in her late 20s with similar blue eyes, long blonde hair, wearing a green suit with a blue tie and a sliver cross on it. Standing just a little behind her was a man that easily looked 6 feet 6 inches, black hair, wearing a gray suit, white gloves, large red overcoat and strange yellow glasses. The last person was a man who looked about 50, but with a full head of black hair. He wore a white button-up shirt, red tie, black vest, gray pants and black gloves on. Naruto sat the picture down and opened the envelope. A letter stapled together fell out. Dear descendant. My name is Integra Winget's Hellsing, your ancestral grandmother if you will. I have always been a no-nonsense person, so I'll just get to the point with you. The only reason you should be able to read this is because you are the last Hellsing alive that can have children. You are the descendant of both myself and Alucard, or his real name Dracula. You should be able to tell who's who in the photo. I'm the woman with blonde hair and blue eyes. Alucard is the tallest in the picture. You child have the mantle of Lord Hellsing. 2 noble and powerful bloods flow through your veins, child. Use that power in the name of God and vanquish all enemies. Go with my blessings, child. Integra Wingets Hellsing. P.S. I have led a blood seal that holds a far bit of money as well as blueprints for defenses and molds for Luke, your new weapons. Naruto sat the letter down and considered what was said. I'm of noble blood, huh? Guess I'll have to train harder to make sure I don't insult the family name, said Naruto, walking over to his bed and laying down. Naruto looked up at the ceiling before he shut his eyes and drifted off to sleep. Inside Naruto's mind, Yoko sighed as Naruto fell asleep. She had waited for him to do that in order to change his body like she and Alucard agreed to. She shifted from her giant fox form to a more useful body. She now stood at 5 feet 7 inches, looked around 16 years old with long red hair, red eyes. A slender figure, 9 red tails moving around. She wore a black tube top with a red button shirt over it, tight black pants. Better get started with Naruto-kun, said Yoko as she started to mess with his jeans. Next morning, Naruto awoke and felt great, almost as good as a horse running free in the wild. He stood up and heard the shower running. Sakura-chan must be here, thought Naruto as he walked into the bathroom without knocking. When Sakura heard the door open, she screamed as she saw a stranger enter the bathroom. She grabbed a kunai that Naruto left on the wall in case someone tried to attack while he or she was in the shower. She cut off the water and lunged at the man, pinning him to the floor with her body and the kunai at his throat. Who are you and where is Naruto-kun? Asked Sakura in a deadly tone with blazing emerald eyes to match. What the hell are you talking about, Sakura? I am Naruto, said Naruto looking at her strangely. Prove it, said Sakura, pushing the kunai deeper. Fine. You are Sakura Uzumaki, as you refuse to use the last name of your whore of a mother. You love Ino Yamanaka and wish to fuck her brains out. I gave you the nickname Blossom, because of your ability to use seeds, not wood-style jutsu, said Naruto. Sakura's eyes widened. It really is you, Naruto-kun, said Sakura. Naruto grinned. Not that I mind a necked girl sitting on my lap, but I'd rather it not be my little sister, said Naruto as Sakura got up. Do you not have the decency to blush, woman? Hell number Naruto. I've seen you do things with that cock that would make porn stars envy you, and you've seen me do things with my fingers on more than one occasion. We're way past the point of decency when around each other, Naruto-kun, said Sakura as if this was an everyday thing, which it was. So put a towel on at least, said Naruto as he grabbed a towel and gave it to Sakura. Sakura, have you gotten shorter? Asked Naruto looking at Sakura. No, you've gotten bigger and got a slight makeover. Look into the mirror and you'll see what I mean, said Sakura, putting on the towel. Naruto looked in the mirror and saw what Sakura saw. He understood why Sakura seemed so short. He stood at a good 6 feet even. He no longer looked 13, but 17, his muscles were leaner now and you could see a six-pack, his hair had changed from spiky to flat and was blonde with mostly red tips and a black bang hanging in the center. His eyes were the big surprise. His eyes were no longer blue, but a deep purple. Naruto smiled as he walked out the bathroom and grabbed a shirt as well as his backpack. I'm going to go see what these new body can do, said Naruto. Wait a minute, Naruto, what if people ask about your new body? Asked Sakura looking at her brother as she grabbed some clothes. I'll just tell them I was under a genjutsu to hide my Tourei body and my bloodline, said Naruto walking out. Training field. Naruto had just walked into the training field and put his backpack down. He looked at a tree and felt as if someone was watching him. He jumped into the air and knew that he packed a lot more power than before. Hum. I feel so much stronger than I was before, said Naruto. That's because I fixed you up, Naruto-kun, came a voice from nowhere. What the? Said Naruto only to black out for a second. In Naruto's mind, Naruto opened his eyes and saw he was in a small clearing. On the other side of the clearing was a woman that made his stiff as a tree. She sat there with a sexy smile on her lips. Hello, Naruto-kun. I'm Yoko, or Kyubi as your people call me, said Kyubi, giving Naruto a sexy pose. If you're the Kyubi, then fuck me, said Naruto with a grin. Maybe later. I do like to taste my handiwork when it's done. I brought you here to tell you about your new abilities now that I'm unlocked them. You're about 10x stronger than you were before, as well as faster regeneration. Anything short of having your head chopped being of can't kill you, but will still hurt like a bitch. I've removed the former weaknesses of your race, said Kyubi smirking. What weaknesses, Yoko-chan? Asked Naruto standing across from her. Kyubi liked the fact he was using her name, because she intended for him to moan it at a later date. Powerless near holy relics and water, weakness to garlic, the sun, and worst of all, the need to drink blood. It's common knowledge that vamps were harder to kill than demons, but the need for human blood was the worst weakness. You can still feed, but won't need to, said Naruto. Alright. Thanks, Yoko-chan. I'll see you later, said Naruto, preparing to leave only to find a hungry kiss on his lips. Come back soon. It gets real lonely in here, especially during my yearly mating cycle. I'm sure you can put that big cock of yours to real good use, said Kyubi as Naruto vanished. Real world. Naruto opened his eyes and let a shit-eating grin cross his face. Horny and sexy ass vixen. I'll have to take her up on that offer. Now it's time for training, said Naruto as he started to throw a few punches unaware of his guest. You may not be master, but I'll make you so much stronger. Lord Hellsing, though Sarah's watching Naruto train from the shadows. A week later. The week passed slowly for the new Genins and all were ready to go. Now only one person was missing. Kiba walked over to Ino. Ino, where's Sakura at? Asked Kiba. Sakura may be flat cheated, but she still has ass and legs, thought Kiba. Who cares where forehead is? Probably dropped out along with the Dobi. Just so long as I have my Sasuke-kun, said Ino as a black portal opened up in the center of the room. We haven't gone anywhere, Ino, came a voice from the portal, making a lot of people nearly shit themselves. Two people stepped out. One was Sakura, but dressed differently. The most noticeable thing was that her breasts were bigger than Ino's and could rival Hinata. She wore a pink tank top, black long coat with the Hellsing coat of arms on her left breast pocket, tight black pants with a small belt clipped around her waist and hanging down a bit, long black gloves that stopped at her elbow, black shoes, and her headband wrapped like a bandana around her neck. The other person, however, was completely new to them. He was tall, taller than Iruka. He wore a wide-brimmed red hat that covered most of his hair, but you could still see traces of black, red, and golden blonde. Covering his eyes were a pair of yellow glasses, a dark blue button-up shirt, black vest covered by a red overcoat, black shinobi pants, shinobi boots, black gloves with a wired star on them. You could barely make out the headband that was wrapped around his forehead. Who the hell are you two? Asked Sasuke. The two figures grinned, before they turned to everyone. Sakura Uzumaki Hellsing, little sister of Naruto Uzumaki Hellsing and the sexiest lady after Enko, formerly known as Sakura Haruno, said Sakura, shocking many and making Sasuke think second thoughts. Damn, she's hot with all that black on. I want her to bear my first child and next head of the great Uchiha clan, thought Sasuke. If only she was in heat, thought a horny Kiba. Look at her trying to steal my Sasuke-kun, thought a fuming Ino. Wait, if you're Sakura then who the hell are you? Asked Choji. The man grinned. I'm disappointed in you, Choji, old buddy. I'm the head of the most noble house of Hellsing. Lord Naruto Uzumaki Hellsing, said Naruto, bowing and stunning the glass as well as putting a few girls down with nosebleeds. Damn, and I thought Kurenai-san was bad. You're bad, brother, said Sakura with a grin. In Iruka's classroom. Everyone was shocked as they looked at Naruto. That was not a Dobi, that was a powerful man standing before them. They were also shocked about Sakura. She looked damn sexy enough to give not only Ino, but cute little Hinata a run for her money. Prove that you're Naruto, said Shino, standing up, making everyone gasp. Come now, Shino-san, you knew that I was holding back and still am holding back, but if you insist, Shino-san. Clone jutsu, said Naruto, making the hand signs for the clone. The clone came out a flop. See, you shouldn't doubted my big brother Ino, said Sakura, only for Ino to charge at Naruto with a kunai. You bastard, what have you done to Sakura? Yelled Ino, leaving up to her name and charging like a boar. Sakura-chan, be a dear would you and stop Ino, said Naruto with a grin. You owe me later, Naruto-kun. You knew what this will be, payment enough, said Sakura as she knocked the kunai out of Ino's hand and pinned her to the wall. Sakura, what the hell? Said Ino, trying to get free, only for Sakura to push up against Ino roughly. Sakura stared at Ino with a hungry gaze. This is how I really am, Ino-chan. Always have been this way, always will be this way. I hate my mother and Naruto's been like a brother to me for years now, said Sakura as she felt Ino's nipples start to get hard. Oh my Ino, is this turning you on? Being dominated by another female so badly, said Sakura as she took one of her hands of Ino's and started to knead her left breast. Sakura kissed Ino full on the lips, but then pulled back and kissed Ino on her neck and gently bit it. Sakura, stop it place please, Sakura, moaned out Ino. Ino would never admit it, but she was liking this beyond belief. Oh Ino-chan, you're getting wet, said Sakura, moving her hand from Ino's breast to under her skirt. Sakura started to lightly finger Ino. What's wrong, Ino-chan? Going crazy from all the pint-up desire you have for me. All you have to do is say, Sakura-sama, please fuck me because I'm your loyal little bitch, finished Sakura with a smirk as she kissed Ino's neck again. Ino was panting slightly and whimpering. Sakura-sama, please fuck me like. Just as Ino was about to finish, Naruto appeared next to Sakura. You can play with Ino-chan later. Iruka will be in the room in a few minutes, said Naruto. Why did you have to ruin my fun, brother? Asked Sakura, letting Ino go and removing her hand from under her skirt, making Ino's knees buckle. Sakura then bent down and shoved her tongue into Ino's mouth, before pulling back with a grin. We'll finish this another day, Ino-chan, finished Sakura with a wave of her hand. Now everyone was yet again shocked. Sakura kissing Ino was hot, but the things Sakura just did to Ino was just damn sexy. Many boys and one Hyuga female were sporting bloody noses. Said Hyuga was imaging a foursome with two blondes and the pink-haired girl. Shikamaru had just helped Ino back to her seat when Iruka walked into a quiet class. Weird. Alright, I'm sure you don't want to hear the speech about responsibility to your village, so let's move on to teams. Teams 1 to 6 are random. Team 7 will be Kiba Inuzuka, Sasuke Uchiha, Sakura Haruno. Many of the fan girls groaned at this. And lastly Naruto Uzumaki Hellsing, said Iruka. Wait, why do they get an extra member? That's not me, asked some random whore fangirl. Balance. Only 30 people were to graduate, but Naruto makes 31, so we had to put him somewhere, said Iruka. Team 8 will be Hinata Hyuga, Shino Aburama, and Sai. Team 9 is random. Team 10 will be Ino Shika Cho. Your senseis will be here after lunch, said Iruka as everyone walked out except Kiba, Naruto, and Sakura. Sakura walked up to Kiba and petted him on the cheek. Hello Kiba-kun, said Sakura as Akamaru jumped into Sakura's arms. Damn Sakura, I knew you were sexy under that genjutsu, but just looking at you is making me want to find the nearest girl in heat, said a grinning Kiba. Now Kiba, you knew better than to hit on my sister, said a chuckling Naruto taking a seat above Kiba. I can't help myself, especially after the shit she did with Ino a few minutes ago, said Kiba with a whine. They all burst out laughing. So what with the new threads, Naruto? Asked Kiba in awe of Naruto's new clothes. As I said, I've come into my heritage and bloodline. I'm a lot stronger than I was before, said Naruto as Kiba leaned back and scratched his head. Kiba was nowhere near as smart as Naruto or Sakura, but he was smart nevertheless. Watch out for the council then. I have a feeling you're going to a council meeting soon, said Kiba. We already figured that out, Kiba, but with brother status that won't matter. He has more influence over Fire Country than any of the 4 Fire Lords, said Sakura rubbing Akamaru's ears. Ha, you two should have won trophies for your acting skills over the years, said Kiba laughing with his 2 friends. Yes, Kiba, I know you're not up to our level maybe mid-genin, so be extreme careful when we're out on the field. I don't want to be saving your sorry ass all the time, said Naruto. Right, said Kiba as the bell rung. Ino and her team were the first ones back, but as soon as she saw Sakura she turned her head to avoid her hungry gaze. In no time at all every student returned. It was not even 30 seconds later that a man with gravity-defying silver hair was thrown into the room, by an attractive blonde. Next time I tell you to be on time. You'd better be on bloody time. Do I make myself clear, Kakashi? Asked the woman putting her hands on her hips. Crystal. Team 7 meet us on the roof, said Kakashi and the woman poofing away. Naruto grabbed Kiba and Sakura and used his portal while Sasuke ran out the door. On the roof. Kakashi and Sarah's had only been on the roof for a second when Naruto appeared with Sakura on his back and holding Kiba by his hood. It took another 5 minutes for Sasuke to appear winded. Right now that you are all here I want you to give me your names, likes, dislikes, hobbies and dreams for the future, said the woman. Your first lady, said Sasuke eyeing her like a piece of meat in front of a starving dog. Bloody pig. Alright. I'm Sarah's Victoria. My likes are training, the dark, and singing. I dislike argent bastards who think they are the shit, and my hobbies are singing and hanging out with my friends. My dream is to one day have a family, said Sarah's finishing softly. My name is Kakashi Hatake. My likes and dislikes are none of your concern. My hobbies, I have lots. My dream for the future. Haven't really thought about it, said Kakashi. Alright then. Dog boy and pup, said Sarah's. My name is Kiba and this is my partner Akamaru. Our likes are training and going on walks. I dislike Sasuke Tem here, and my hobbies are walking and looking for girls in heat. My dream is to become a strong clan head if my sister does not, said Kiba. Typical Inzuka, thought Kakashi. Alright Pinky, said Kakashi. Haruno. I always thought they turned into whores around their 13th birthdays, thought Kakashi. My name is Sakura Uzumaki Hellsing. My likes are my elder brother and plants. I dislike the Uchiha and my mother who is a member of the council. My hobbies are hanging with my brother and training with him. My dream is to help my brother become the most powerful person in the world and have the person of my dreams on my arm, said Sakura with a smile. So she wishes to help the young master. I like her already, thought Sarah's. That's Councilman Haruno's girl. Damn, I need to get her for some entertainment tonight, thought Kakashi with a prevented giggle. You Uchiha spec now, said Kakashi pointing to Sasuke. My name is Sasuke Uchiha. My likes are few and I detest all my fan girls except for Sakura who will help revive my clan. My dream, well my ambition is to kill a certain man, said Sasuke only to catch a fist to the face from Naruto who had a pissed expression on his face. It would have been rude to stop you in the middle of your speech, but next time you talk about my sister like you own her I'll kill you, said Naruto pulling his fist back. Alright you spec Lord Hellsing, said Sarah's. You already know my last name. Interesting. I'm Naruto Uzumaki Hellsing. My likes are my sister, my friend Kiba, and training. My dislikes are those who look down on others and think they own my sister. My hobbies are hanging with my sister, Kiba and Akamaru, and reading. My dreams are to one day revive the Hellsing clan as well as the Hellsing organization and become Hokage. Sarah's had a smile on her face and a small tear running down her face. Young master, I'll help you out with your dreams, thought Sarah's. Alright everyone, meet at training ground 7 tomorrow at 5 a.m. for the test to see if you're genin material or not. Oh, and don't eat breakfast, said Kakashi as Sarah's grabbed him. You'd better be on bloody time, Kakashi, or else, said Sarah's, letting him go. Yes ma'am, said Kakashi, poofing away. Sasuke stood and walked over to Sakura. Come Sakura, if we want to get the Uchiha up and running again we need to start now, said Sasuke, reaching out to Sakura only to find a heel planted in his chest. Let's get something start, Sasuke, I don't like you, in fact I detest you with all my heart. If you ever come near me like that again, the Uchiha clan will end, said Sakura with venom. You'll be mine. The council will see to it, said Sasuke, walking off to tell the council. Well, now that he's gone I can talk to the young lord and his sister. Kiba, leave, said Sarah's. What, Sarah's sensei? Anything you got to say to me and Sakura you can say it in front of Kiba. I trust him, said Naruto, looking at her dead in the eye. Alright, but you got to lose the hat and shades. You look too much like Alucard for your own good, said Sarah's, crossing her arms and smiling. Wait, how do you know what Alucard looked like? Asked Naruto, basically leaving Kiba out. Lord Hellsing, I'm over 2,500 years old. I knew Alucard and Sir Integra. Before you say anything, yes, she is a woman. The only reason she has Sir in front of her name is because she was a member of the Knights of the Round Table. Sworn to protect Her Majesty. I was a retainer under Master Alucard. He took in me after a near death. It took a good 5 years of training, but I was soon a powerful warrior. It was also around that time that Master Alucard and Sir Integra got married. In that time the Hellsing organization extended and became the most powerful force in Her Majesty's forces. I soon became a top commander at Hellsing, right under Master Alucard and Sir Integra. After a few years Sir Integra gave birth to 2 daughters and a son. Then things went to hell. 2 very powerful vampires attacked Master Alucard. He died killing them, but Sir Integra was heartbroken. She died at the age of 98, making me swear to God that I would protect her family for as long as I was needed. I have been guarding them from the shadows and now I'm needed by you now, young master, said Sarah's, bowing. Naruto extended his hand to Sarah's. Sarah's just looked at the hand. No, Sarah's, I don't want to be your master. I want to be your friend. You've served my family as a retainer for so long that that's all you knew, so I ask you to stand not as a servant, but as my friend, Sarah's, said Naruto with a smile. Sarah's nodded as a few tears fell from her eyes. She took his hand and he helped her up. Right. Well, you 3 better get home. Remember you have a test tomorrow, said Sarah's, disappearing. Brother, said Sakura as Naruto was in thought. Yes, Sakura, said Naruto, thinking about Sarah's. We should return home now and prepare for the test, said Sakura. Naruto looked at Sakura before removing the hat and the glasses. Maybe I'll take her advice and remove the shades and hat, said Naruto. No way, you look too badass with them on, said Kiba as Naruto just looked at him. Whose advice am I more likely to take, a 2,500-year-old goddess of a vampire or a 13 horny mutt? Said Naruto with a smirk as he jumped off the roof with Sakura following. Damn you, Naruto, yelled Kiba. Next day. It was 4:45 a.m. when Naruto and Sakura showed up. Naruto without his hat, but his shades still in place. Sasuke and Kiba arrived 5 minutes before 5 a.m. Kiba looked ready to pass out and Sasuke looked as bored as normal until he saw Sakura and Naruto. Dobi, Sakura, the council has set a meeting up that you both have to attend at noon. It's about you refusing to give birth to the next heir of the Uchiha clan, said Sasuke with a smug smirk. Naruto growled as Sasuke and was about to attack him until 2 puffs of smoke later stood Sarah's and Kakashi, both looking ready for battle. You're all here, that's good. Your test is to retrieve these 2 bells from me before this clock hits 10 a.m. You have 5 hours. The people who don't get the bell will be sent back to the academy, said Kakashi, taking out 2 bells. I'm just here to watch. I'm stronger than Kakashi and I just feel like watching today. Have fun, Sakura-chan. Naruto-kun, said Sarah's before moving over to the posts. Let's begin, said Kakashi as Sasuke jumped away and hid. Why aren't you 3 in hiding? Asked Kakashi, scratching his head. Because unlike Uchiha we aren't weak. Kiba, Sakura, plan B4, said Naruto. Right, said Kiba as Akamaru jumped out his coat. Kiba got into his clan's stance. I'm on it, brother, said Sakura, taking out a small dagger hidden in her coat. Well, now you 3 are going to take me on. Let's get started, said Kakashi, getting into a light defensive stance. Kiba charged first with Sakura on a follow-up. Kiba threw a sloppy punch at Kakashi while he blocked. He almost missed Sakura trying to cut his right leg off by sliding past Kiba's open legs. He jumped out the way and saw Naruto charge him. Kakashi kicked Naruto in the gut only for Naruto to smirk. Boom, was all he said as he exploded and sent Kakashi fling into a tree, where some wire wrapped around his arms. Kakashi looked around and saw Naruto appear in front of him from underground. These kids are dangerous. Kiba is strong, Sakura is faster than I expected. Naruto can use the inner decantation jutsu and exploding shadow clone, which means he knows the normal shadow clone. I'll have to step my game up, thought Kakashi as he easily slipped out of the wire only to find that it cut right through his cloths. I'd advise against that, Kakashi-san. Those wires are sharper than normal, said Sakura spinning her dagger around. That was my favorite shirt too. You owe me 100 Ryu Hellsing. I think I'll collect it out of your hide, said Kakashi poofing away. Damn it. We almost had him too, said Sakura slamming her fist into her hand. Yahoo knew that shirt was so much, said Kiba laughing. Kiba Akamaru, go hunt down Kakashi and use a flare for when you find him. Sakura, you're with me. Don't leave my side for anything, said Naruto. Got you, Naruto, said Kiba jumping off unaware that Sasuke followed him. With Kiba. Kiba had followed Kakashi's scent to a small clearing. Not seeing Kakashi, Kiba jumped in the air as a hand came up from the ground. You're fast, kid. Are you fast enough to beat a Jonin? Asked Kakashi as he punched Kiba in the gut, knocking him down. It was at that moment that Sasuke jumped out. He waited for Kiba to get back up and charge Kakashi. Kakashi saw Sasuke come out and charge him right behind Kiba. Kakashi threw a kunai at Sasuke, but Sasuke was a bit behind Kiba, so the kunai hit Kiba in his left arm, making him howl out as Sasuke charged Kakashi up. Kakashi was disappointed in the boy for not stopping to help his teammate. Kakashi avoided a punch and hit Sasuke in his neck before tying him to a tree. Don't move, said Kakashi as he poofed away. It was not 3 minutes later that Naruto and Sakura found Kiba and Sasuke. Naruto walked over to Sasuke and cut him loose only to slug him hard in the face. I knew what you did, you bastard. I didn't tell Kiba, but a shadow clone was telling you both. I have half a mind to, said Naruto as his fangs started to extend. Sakura quickly rushed over and stopped her brother. Naruto, enough. It's only a minor wound. Kill the prick later. For now we got to stop Kakashi, said Sakura. You bastard. I'll take you out later, for now you follow my lead. And if you don't, comrade or not, council or not, Uchiha or not, I'll kill you where you stand, said Naruto, removing his shades. Sasuke didn't want to back down, but for his future he had no choice. Alright, said Sasuke. Naruto then told him his plan. In the center of the training field, Kakashi stood there and he was getting bored. The students had only 5 minutes left in the test and it looked like he was going to have to fail Sasuke for his lack of teamwork. He was brought out of his thoughts as about 10 Naruto clones surrounded him. Kakashi was not sure which brand of clone this was, but he didn't want to find out. He jumped into the air and found himself tackled back to the ground. He turned and saw Kiba and a clone look-alike did it, just as he was about to run, wire wrapped around his legs and hands. Next thing he knew, Sasuke was there and launching a fireball at him. Kakashi managed to get away only to be met with a punch from Naruto and a few clones attaching themselves to him. If you don't want to die then you'll pass up, said one of the clones. Sarah's just looked on. She knew that the clones had enough chakra to kill Kakashi, but they weren't exploding. She saw one grab the bells and toss them to Sakura just as the bell rang. Well now, that was excellent teamwork on your part. I was going to fail Sasuke after that little stunt he pulled with Kiba, but, started Kakashi only to be stopped by Sasuke's yell. What? You were going to fail me because of that mutt. Kiba, I'm going to kill you, said Sasuke, charging Kiba only to find a sliver gun in his face. He looked up and saw Naruto's intense purple eyes glaring at him. Sasuke didn't know why, but just looking at Naruto made him feel fear like he hadn't felt since Itachi killed his clan. If you asked, Sasuke would tell you he feared death more than he feared anything else. Right at that moment Sasuke knew that death was out to get him and its name was Naruto Uzumaki Hellsing. Naruto, calm down. You don't need to put a bullet in him, said Sakura. Kiba just looked on. Sarah's was only going to intervene if need be, and Kakashi was trying to figure out what to do. If you ever go after a friend of mine like that again, even the councils will mean shit me. Do you got me, Uchiha? Said Naruto. All Sasuke could was nod. You all head home, said Sarah's as Kakashi poofed away to report to the Hokage. Naruto hustled his gun before he walked off. Sasuke, you're one lucky son of a bitch, said Sakura crossing her arms. Why is that, Sakura? Asked Kiba as they began to walk away following Naruto. Because Naruto really meant to kill him just now. I knew Naruto hated Sasuke, but never mind, said Sakura. Council chambers. It had just hit noon when Naruto and Sakura walked into the council chambers. Sasuke Uchiha stood near the head of the civilian council Haruno. The civilian council was made up of about 15 people. The most powerful merchants and landowners. On the shinobi side of things stood Heishi Hoiga, Sum Inuzuka, Shibi Aburame, Inochi Yamanaka, Shikama Nara, Shuza Akamen and Danzo. Last were the elders Sasuke Sarutobi and his old teammates, Koharu and Homura. As soon as Sakura and Naruto entered the room, a skinny councilman stood up and looked at Naruto. "What are you doing here, Uzumaki?" said the man, spitting out the last word like it was poison. Naruto smirked. "I was under the impression that I only answer to the Hokage and or the advisors of the council when the Hokage is not present. So back off," said Naruto in a way that made the councilman want to die. "Naruto, enough. The council has called both you here. Sakura for an arranged marriage between herself and Sasuke. You because of your new clan status," said Sarutobi, poofing on his pipe. "What a digesting habit you picked up, Sasuke," said Koharu in a disapproving tone. "I don't know, Koharu-chan. What about you and your ramen addiction?" asked Homura, making her blush. "We'll have time to talk about the good old days later," said Sarutobi. "Let's start with the fact that my daughter has an arranged marriage with Sasuke-kun here. I mean, it's obvious that she's ecstatic about being his first wife," said Haruno with a smile. "Go suck a dick, you whore. I'm not marrying the Uchiha prick," said Sakura, shocking many on the council. Everyone on the civilian council had slept with Sakura's mother, and the fattest member had a thing for young girls. "What did you say to me, you little bitch? I am your mother, you will respect me, or so help me I'll make you beg to be fucked like the little slut you," yelled an outraged Haruno. "I'm no slut, because no man has ever seen me without clothes on. You let that fat pig over there nearly rape me. The person you call daughter. How can I love my mother when all she wants is to use me for her own ends? I am not you, Haruno. You nothing to me, mother," said Sakura, spitting out the word mother. Haruno was shaking with rage. "You heard my baby sister, Haruno. Since I'm a clan head, I can adopt people into my clan. I adopted Sakura into it years ago. Face it, slut. You can't mold her into your personal little slave for sale. I've made sure of that. Her name is Sakura Uzumaki Hellsing now," said Naruto, smirking at the looks on the council members' faces at the word Hellsing. "You ungrateful little bitch. I gave you life, a roof over your head, and all the love anyone could ask for, and this is how you repay me," yelled Haruno, pulling out a small dagger she had hidden and charged at Sakura. Naruto, seeing his little sister threatened, reached for his gun, only for Sakura to stop him with a look. Understanding that she wanted to deal with this herself, he nodded and backed up. Haruno brought the dagger down near Sakura, only for Sakura to move out the way and hit her in the gut. Haruno went flying into the wall and coughed up a bit of blood. "Nice one, Sakura-chan. I think you cracked a rib," said Naruto, smirking at Sakura. "I say too. I was really aiming for about 4, said Sakura, shaking her hand. "How did you do that?" asked a stunned Koharu. "Oh, she learned it from Tsunade Ba-chan," said Naruto, making Sasuke's eyes widen. "She perfect. Trained by a Sannin. She can give me the secrets of Tsunade's legendary power," thought Sasuke with a grin. "How did she learn it from Tsunade-sama?" asked Koharu. "I gave her a scroll on it," said Naruto, shocking the council. "How?" asked a council member. "What's with all the damn hows today?" asked Sakura. "It was around the time I was 9. Sakura and I had been hanging out for close to 5 years at that point. Anyway, a ninja from the village kidnapped me and took me to a border town planning to kill me. Luckily Tsunade and her student Shizune, who I must admit is rather cute, happened to pass by and saved my sorry ass. After that I traveled with them for close to 4 months. I helped Tsunade when close to 10 million Ryu and helped her pay off some of her debts. After that I returned to the village and rested. I tried to learn it, but I only ever got up to using the strength with my right fist, so I gave it to Sakura and also told her to burn it after she was done learning it," said Naruto, making another councilman stand up. "Damn it, I knew that idiot screwed up when you came back," yelled the man as a man with a scared face entered the room with a grin on his face. "Damn, I always wanted to know if a council member screamed like a bitch," said Ibiki, dragging him off. "Back to business. I won't extend a marriage contract to Sasuke with my sister," said Naruto, making Sasuke growl. "You loser. If Sakura has my heirs, think of the power they could have," said Sasuke. "Sakura will only marry the one she chooses for love, not a political marriage for money and power. What kind of brother would I be if I gave her to an uncaring bastard like you?" said Naruto, making Sasuke mad. Just as Sasuke was about to yell at him, Sarutobi stood up. "Enough. We have something else to discuss. Since the head of a new family and an old family," said Sarutobi. "Lord Hellsing, I would like to arrange a marriage between the House of Hellsing and the Otomo clan," said a tall merchant standing up. "To hell with the Uchiha clan. This could bust me up all the way to one of the Fire Lords," he thought. "Didn't I already say hell no?" I think my sister and I need to leave, said Naruto, but Sarutobi stopped him. Naruto, before you go, I figure that this is as good a time as any to tell you that your father was Minato Namikaze and your mother was Kushina Uzumaki. She died in childbirth. Your father didn't have time to leave you a letter, however your mother thought she might die in childbirth regardless of what might have happened, so she led a letter for you. I have some of their objects in my possession. Come by sometime soon and get them. I'll also open up your parents' bank account for you and Sakura, said Sarutobi. Naruto and Sakura were both shocked. Naruto nodded, not sure what to say. In a way he felt relieved and angry. Relieved to know that his parents didn't abandon him per se, and angry that his dad sealed the nine tails in him. Even if she was nice and cute. Sakura could not tell what her brother felt, but in a way she was happy that her brother finally knew the truth. The shinobis on the council were happy to know that their friend's son was alive and well, while the civilian council were about to piss themselves as they had most likely blown a chance for major power in the village. Later, old man. Hold on to that letter for me. I don't think I'm ready for it yet, said Naruto and Sakura, leaving through a portal Naruto made. This shit is going to be all over the village news tomorrow, said Sarutobi with his teammates nodding. And all that damn paperwork, said Kaharu, making Sarutobi and Homura cry like kids. Inside the village. Naruto and Sakura didn't feel like going home right at that moment, so they walked around. It was a good 2 hours before they came across a weapons shop called the Triple T. It looked pretty average. Let's go in, said Sakura, looking at Naruto. It might be a good idea. I need to find a place to make a few bullets and clips for my guns, said Naruto, pulling out the details that went into his bullets and clips. They pushed open the door and their jaws nearly hit the floor. From wall to wall and barrel to barrel there was nothing but weapons and a few scrolls on how to use them. There were even a few shelves that held weapons. Hang on, I'll be with you in a second, I need to finish putting this box of kunai away, came a female voice that had just come out. When Naruto saw the girl, he had a gush of blood come from his nose. This girl was hot. She appeared to be a little older than 18. She was average height, had a toned figure, black hair with 2 buns on her head with some more hair falling to her backside, chocolate brown eyes. She wore a tight blue top that let her cleave show, and a mid-thigh black skirt, blue boots and a heart-shaped necklace around her neck. Hey there, I'm Talho. What can I do for you? Asked Talho. Naruto stopped ogling her boy for a few seconds and handed her the blueprints for the bullets and clips. I need those done. I'll pay the price of 1,000 kunai and 1,000 shuriken to be melted down into those bullets, said Naruto. Talho's eyes widened. For a set of 50 kunai and shrunken it was a little over 1,000 ryu, but this kid was paying big time. Kid, that's a little over 100,000 ryu. Are you sure you can pay for that? Asked Talho. Brother could pay for that 10,000 times over and not go broke, said Sakura as Naruto lightly tapped her head. Takashi Tenten, get your asses in here now, yelled Talho. From the back door 2 people walked in. The first was a tall male who easily stood at 6 feet 7 inches, looked around 24, black hair pulled in a ponytail, brown eyes, wearing a black muscle shirt, white pants, and wrapped around his arm was a black and red bandana. The other was a girl easily around their age, maybe a year older. She stood at 5 feet 4 inches and seemed to be a smaller version of Talho, but with no extra hair out of her buns and looked like she was only midway though puberty given her assets. She wore a pink Chinese top, black pants, and wrapped around her forehead was the leaf bandana. You called Talho? Asked the man who was obviously Takashi. Yeah, I did. This guy here wanted to have these made, said Talho, showing him the prints which he whistled at. Hot damn, these are nice. And the specs don't even relay on chakra to work. I can have them finished in about 3 days. How much you paying? Asked Takashi. He's paying for 1,000 kunai and shrunken to be melted down and made for those, said Talho. And I'll also compensate you for your time on them and a small side project I want done, said Naruto. Damn dude, let's talk turkey, said Takashi as Tenten pulled Sakura to the side to show her some good weapons. Sakura was good at mid-range combat, but if someone got close she would have a problem. In a straight-out fight she would lose, that's why she looked to trap her opponents and take an easy victory. Sakura looked around, until her eyes fell on a pair beautifully crafted kodachi. Both were just about 2 feet with a 4.5-foot sheath, the patterns on the blades were a Sakura pattern. The main hilt was a foot long with blue wrap around it, the other looked like the plain end of the sheath. Sakura instantly fell in love with them and turned to Tenten. How much for them and a training scroll? Asked Sakura. It's a little over 600 ryu. You see, no one really wanted it and my sister wouldn't let me have it. My sister said if no one bought it by my next birthday I could buy it. You got here just in time as my birthday is a little over 2 months away, said Tenten as Sakura pulled out the money and gave it to Tenten, who threw the scroll in for free. It was at that time that Naruto, Talho, and Takashi came back looking rather pleased with themselves. Alright, everything is set and the payment has been set up, so if I need any in the future I can get them. Also, I think we can. Naruto stopped as he looked at a sword that stood in the middle of a barrel. Naruto grabbed the sword and almost lost it. It was the last blade of Hellsing. It was easily 3 feet long, and the blade was black with a sliver edge. On it was the word Hellsing. Naruto lifted it out of the barrel and examined it in further detail. He saw a flame-like pattern on the blade and the guard was blue in color. How much for this sword? Asked Naruto, shocking the weapon's siblings. Man, you have no clue. That damn thing wouldn't let anyone touch it or they got a nasty burn, said Takashi. Since you can touch it, it must have been made for your hands, so just take it, said Talho, smiling. Thanks. Come on, Sakura-chan, let's get out of here. See you in a few days, Takashi-san, Talho-san, and of course Tenten-chan, said Naruto as he grabbed the sheath. Hey, wait a minute, we never got your name, said Tenten. Naruto turned and gave them a grin. Naruto Uzumaki Hellsing, said Naruto as he and Sakura walked out, leaving a stunned shop of 3. Talho, Tenten, we just got a contract from a noble. Yahoo! Yelled an excited Takashi, jumping in the air, before grabbing the blueprints and running downstairs to make what Naruto wanted him to make. 3 months later. Kiba, Sakura, Ceres, and Naruto sat down at the ramen stand. The last 2 months had been hell on the genin of Team 7. Kakashi spent a lot of time reading his porn, while Ceres took to training the team, except Sasuke, who demanded things of her. They had already learned the tree climbing exercise and learned a few new jutsu. Naruto and Sakura both learned fire style, fire wall protection, and earth style, spiked road. Naruto had also started to learn the basics of sealing. Kiba learned a jutsu called water style, black rain jutsu. Sasuke also wanted to learn the jutsu, but Kakashi and Ceres only wanted him working on his strength. In between the training they went on simple missions. Naruto and Sakura enjoyed them, while Kiba thought they were crazy for liking D-rank missions, and Sasuke just brooded and did little work. In the 2 months that they were a team, Ceres became close to Kiba and Sakura as a good friend who would rather die than leave her friends behind. Her relationship with Naruto was a bit different. They became close, closer than a student and teacher should have been. After the first month of learning things about each other, they started to contently flirt. The farthest it went was when Ceres took off her shirt after a sparring match with Naruto, knocking him out from blood loss. Another thing that happened in the 3-month period was that both Naruto and Sakura were approached for marriages. They were all turned down, and the more extreme were put out rather harshly by Sakura's fist or Naruto's gun. They now stood at the ramen stand, a first for Ceres, who had never tried the stuff. After they got the basic miso ramen, Ceres was taking down more than 3 bowls. They were just about done when Kakashi appeared next to them. Yo, said Kakashi. What the hell do you want, Kakashi-san? We're on our lunch break, said Naruto, putting money on the counter and leaving a nice tip. Hokage-sama has given us a C-rank mission to wave. We are to protect a bridge builder by the name of Tazuna. We meant at the East Gate in 1 hour, said Kakashi, disappearing. All right, you lot. You heard the man. I want you ready in half that time, said Ceres. Brother, let's go and get our things, said Sakura, standing up. All right, later guys, said Naruto as he opened a portal and jumped in with Sakura behind him. At the gate 30 minutes later. Ceres stood at the gate with Kakashi, Kiba, the client, a tan man with a beer belly and strong-looking arms, and Sasuke. Where is Hellsing and Sakura? Asked Sasuke, hoping to see his woman, as he liked to call her sometimes. Right here, said Naruto, appearing next to Sasuke with Sakura sitting on his shoulders. Naruto once again had his hat on, but on his back was a sword in a black sheath. Sakura too held a sword, but it was long. Sakura jumped off his shoulders with a spin and landed next to Ceres. Ceres pulled out a card that said 8.5, while Kiba held a 7.5, and Kakashi held an 8 up. Damn, I thought I would get a 10 at least, said Sakura. Maybe next time, baby sister, said Naruto. Let's move out, people. We're burning daylight, said Tazuna, walking out the gate. A day later on the road. Naruto and Ceres stood at the front of the group with Tazuna near the center with Sakura standing next to him, Kiba and Sasuke on either side of him, and Kakashi bring up the rear. Ceres and Naruto were flirting and getting along. Sakura had asked if Wave had a hidden village, only to tell her no. Hey Ceres, how have you dealt with the blood problem all these years? Asked Naruto in a low whisper. Simple. I only feed when necessary, and it's now almost 3 months in between feeding instead of every night, said Ceres with a small smile as they passed by a poodle. Naruto put his hand on the gun inside his coat. Just as Kakashi passed by, 2 men jumped out and wrapped him up in chains. Everyone stopped while Naruto pulled out his silver Hellsing gun and unclipped the safety. The 2 men pulled the chins, killing Kakashi. 1 down. Started the first one. Few to go. Finished his counterpart. Sakura, Sasuke guard Tazuna. Kiba, Naruto take them out. Be warned, their C-ranked missing nin called the Demon Brothers, said Ceres, pulling out a kunai. C-ranked trash, more like it, said Naruto. Don't mock us, punk, said the first charging Naruto as his brother charged Kiba. Naruto aimed his gun and shoot at the chain, breaking it in two. They quickly detached the chains and headed for different targets. The first came down on Naruto only to find his claws blocked by Naruto's gun. Naruto used his free hand to slug him and drop his knee into his chest while putting the gun to his eye. The other had abandoned Kiba and ran at Sakura. Sasuke, thinking he was all-powerful, jumping in front of her only to be knocked aside. Sakura's hand went into her coat and she pulled out a 9mm. She pulled the trigger once, hitting the man in his shoulder, making him cry in pain. She then pulled the trigger 3 more times, putting bullets in both his knees and his right elbow. Sakura lowered her smoking pistol and smirked. Thanks for the gift, Naruto-kun, said Sakura, hiding it back in her coat. Any time. Kakashi, next time you hide, I'm cutting your eyes out. Got it, said Naruto, making Kakashi appear next to him. Sorry, but I needed to see something, said Kakashi. Whatever, said Naruto as he turned to the brother underfoot. You're going to tell me who you're trying to kill here, or I'm blowing your fucking brains out, after I put a bullet in your legs and balls, said Naruto, making the man pale. Alright, we were hired by Gedo to kill the old man. Look, you know it's nothing personal, just a bit of bad business, said the man. What do you say, Sakura-chan? Asked Naruto as Sakura walked over. I say let them walk. No point in killing defeated dogs, said Sakura, only to look at Kiba. Sorry about that, Kiba-kun. Akamaru-chan, finished Sakura with a small smile. Nay, it's okay, Sakura-chan, because that's what they are, defeated dogs, said Kiba as Naruto holstered his gun. Be lucky my baby sister is in a good mood, or I would have splattered your brain all over the ground just now, said Naruto, walking away. Right, let's get going, said Sarah's. Wait, we are inclined to know about what's happening, said Kakashi, looking at Tazuna. Kakashi-san, let's just skip the whole story routine and got to wave. Everyone wants to go anyway, do why waste our time asking, said Naruto. Naruto is right, it's best for all invalid, said Kiba. Tazuna bowed to Naruto. Thank you, said Tazuna as Naruto smiled at him. You're welcome, said Naruto as they continued to walk off. In a hidden location. Your little hatchment fucked up bad, Zabuza, said a man in a suit, only to have a large Zanbudo at his face. Shut up. The vampire and copycat Kakashi are with them. I think it will be a lot of fun, said the man holding the large sword with a wide grin on his face. On the road to Wave. The group of Konoha nins had just stopped at the water's edge that separated the fire border from the wave border. The only thing that could really be seen was white mist. Tazuna grabbed a flashlight from his bag and flashed it 6 times. 6 more lights came back and soon a boat pulled up. Sasuke was about to step in when Naruto grabbed him by the collar and stopped him. Ladies first, Uchiha, and don't make me repeat myself, said Naruto as Sarah's and Sakura stepped into the boat, followed by Kiba, Kakashi, then Tazuna, and finally Naruto and Sasuke. The boat was pushed off and Naruto decided to help row the boat. They had rowed for just under 3 hours when they saw a massive bridge. Tazuna-san, is that the bridge Gedo wasn't too dead for? Asked Sarah's, looking at the bridge in awe. Yes. If I died, Gedo would own all of Wave. Gedo's power is fierce and deadly, but the slave rings he owns are the worst. Women, children, it doesn't matter to that swine. He'll sell everything to turn a profit, said Tazuna, remembering some of the things he's seen since Gedo took over Wave. Tazuna-san, you have my word that Gedo will die. I won't even charge you for it. Men like Gedo should burn in hell for all eternity, said Naruto, whipping out his jackal and cocking it. Tazuna bowed to Naruto. Thank you, Hellsing-san. Someday I hope to repay your kindness, said Tazuna. Sakura put her hand on Tazuna's shoulder. There's no need for that, Tazuna-san. We will help you out, because like my brother I can't stand people like this Gedo. He's too much like a whore we all know back in Konoha, said Sakura with fire in her eyes. Everyone were approaching the shore. I can't go any further than this, said the boatman as the boat landed. We will be all right from here, said Kakashi as they all hopped off the boat and onto the road. They walked down a dirt path for about an hour when Naruto heard something in the bushes. He pulled out Joshua and blasted 3 shots into the bushes before he walked into them and brought out a white rabbit. In Naruto's mind, Alucard had decided to drop by for a visit when he saw something that truly scared him. Yoko was jumping up and down yelling about cute white rabbits that she would love to chase again. Alucard slowly backed up and left. Crazy fox, said Alucard, putting his hand on his head. Back outside. You idiot. You gave away our position to nearby enemies with those shots, said Sasuke, trying to look good for Sakura. Use your brain and think for once in your life, Uchiha. This is a rabbit's winter coat. This little thing was raised indoors to be used as a substitute, said Naruto, holding the rabbit up. Naruto's right, I can smell human on it, said Kiba with Akamaru barking in agreement. Naruto knew something was wrong, but a minute later he heard something cut through the air. Everyone get down. yelled Naruto. The next thing everyone saw was a large claymore coming at them. Naruto dragged Sakura down, Sarah's dragged Tazuna down, and everyone else ducked. The sword found its way into a tree and a man landed on it. The man was easily around Naruto's 6 feet or taller, his hair was spiked and black, no kind of eyebrows. Wearing blue pants, shinobi sandals, and his headband was tilted to the side. At least I knew that you guys can play, said Zabuza, taking his sword with him as he jumped off the tree. Zabuza Momochi. A- rank missing nin. Wanting for the attempted murder of the Mizukage, said Kakashi in a clam tone. The bastard had it coming. If you live I'll tell you about the why, copycat Kakashi. What do we have here? We also have Sarah's the vampire. No wonder the demon brothers lost so easy, said Zabuza, rubbing his chin. Actually it was this guy here, said Sarah's, pointing to Naruto. Zabuza started to laugh. If you beat the demon brothers then I'll kiss a goat's ass the second it starts to shit, said Zabuza, laughing only for Naruto to pull a chain out of his pouch and throw it at Zabuza's feet. I thought I'd keep it for a slovenlier, said Naruto, making Kakashi, Sarah's, Kiba, and Sakura laugh. Well Zabuza-san, I guess you'd better find that goat, said Sarah's, making everyone laugh louder. Zabuza's sweat dropped. Maybe later. Anyway I want the old man. If you guess move I won't have to hurt you, said Zabuza, taking up his sword stance. You knew the rules Zabuza. Conflict of interest and all that jazz. So I can't let you have him without a fight, said Kakashi, getting ready to move his headband. Wait Kakashi. I'll take him on, said Naruto, taking out his sword. Naruto, you're a genin, started Kakashi, only for Naruto to cut him off with a glance. Genin or not, I feel as if I need to do this for some reason, said Naruto, taking up his own stance. Naruto was no fool. He realized that he could very well die without so much as a good battle. Zabuza was easily more powerful and more experienced in the ways of fighting. Naruto could just pull out Joshua and Jackal, but he didn't want to really on them unless it was a last resort. What's the name of the little genin who challenges me? Asked Zabuza. Naruto Uzumaki Hellsing, said Naruto. Zabuza's eyes went wide and he nearly dropped his sword. That can't be. The house Hellsing died out years ago, said Zabuza. Read it and wipe, buddy boy. I have the sword of Hellsing in my hand, said Naruto, displaying it. Zabuza narrowed his eyes and charged at Naruto. Naruto blocked Zabuza's slash with the flat side of the sword. Naruto was pushed back at least 6 feet before he was able to get his feet planted firmly. Naruto then used his vampiric strength to set himself up to have an even footing with Zabuza in terms of strength. Naruto pushed Zabuza off and ran at him full speed, making him around Kakashi's level. Zabuza was suspired at Naruto's level of speed. They did a clash of blades, only for Naruto to jump back. Naruto was having a harder time than he anticipated, so he took off his hat and jacket, giving him freer movement. Naruto ran up to Zabuza and cut him across the chest. Zabuza slugged Naruto before spinning around and slamming his foot into Naruto's ribs, cracking them. Naruto hit the ground and looked at Zabuza with fire in his eyes. Naruto quickly got up and prepared to continue the fight, only for a water dragon to slam into him. Naruto was about to get out of the dragon before it smashed into a tree. Naruto landed with a roll and looked around. He saw Zabuza descend on him from above. Naruto jumped to the side in time, but still had a small cut. He lashed out with an upward slash. Zabuza blocked it with his sword. Naruto jumped up and slashed at Zabuza's neck. Zabuza ducked and kicked Naruto in the chest, sending him back to his group. Naruto was about to get up when Sarah stepped forward and she looked pissed off. Wait, Sarah's sensei. I'm not done with him yet. I can still fight, said Naruto, only for Sarah's to glare at him with a heated look. You are quite done, Naruto-kun. I don't want to lose someone who is as important to me as you are, said Sarah's, only to disappear and reappear in front of Zabuza and slam her right heel into his face, sending him into a tree. Zabuza flew through the tree and landed in the water. Zabuza got up and charged at Sarah's with his sword raised. Zabuza brought the blade down and tried to cut Sarah's in half. Keyword being tried. Sarah's caught the blade in her hand, but it looked as if it was burning her hands. What the hell's going on? I got cut with the damn thing, but it didn't burn me, thought Naruto while the others were in awe at her strength. We fight by the side of Lord Hellsing in the name of Her Majesty, for God, said Sarah's, making Zabuza's eyes wide before Sarah's picked up Zabuza and throw him into a tree. Just as Zabuza was about to get up, a pair of Senbon needles hit his neck. Zabuza fell down and a young woman, probably a year older than Naruto, appeared. She wore a blank mask with a red swirl on it. Thank you for defeating Zabuza. I have been after him for over a month, said the person. Hunter Nin, right? Asked Sarah's, preparing to fight. Correct. You can relax, I'm just here for Zabuza-san. Now if you'll excuse me, I have a body to dispose of, said the girl as she picked up Zabuza's body and poofed away. Sakura and Kiba helped Naruto up. Sasuke was pissed at not only Sarah's, but Naruto as well for the power they displayed. Kakashi was just in awe at what he could do. QB container or not, that was just out of there. Tazuna was on the ground thanking Kami for the powerful ninjas that were to protect him. Tazuna, take us to your house, and once we get there I need to spec with Naruto alone, said Sarah's, making everyone shiver. That's it, I'm a dead man, said Naruto, only to stop that train of thought and look at Sarah's burnt hands. Sarah's-chan, what about your hands? Asked Naruto. That's one of the things I need to talk to you about, said Sarah's as Tazuna lead them to his house. At Tazuna's house. Once everyone was settled into the house and had meet Tazuna's daughter Tsunami and his grandson Inari. Naruto was getting worried about how pissed Sarah's was at him. Just as he was about to go and find her, she walked up behind him. Follow me, Naruto-kun, said Sarah's. All Naruto did was nod. Should we follow? Asked Sakura in a worried tone. If we do, we're more than likely to be killed by her, said Kakashi, pulling out his Come Paradise. With Naruto and Sarah's. They walked out of the house and onto the roof. The sun had started to set and it was beautiful in Naruto's option. Just as he was about to comment on it, he felt a slap on his face. He looked down and saw a crying Sarah's. Naruto had gotten to know Sarah's outside their student-teacher relationship. One of the things he learned was that it took much to make her cry the way she was right now. Sarah's, said Naruto, only to receive another slap. This one much harder. You bastard. Who gave you the right to fight a stronger enemy alone? You are the only thing I have left in this world, and I'll be damned if I lose you as well. I lost Alucard because he fought 2 opponents alone. He was like a brother to me. I lost Sir Integra to old age. The pattern repeated itself for so long. I don't want to lose you as well. Please don't leave me like the rest of my family, said Sarah's, grabbing Naruto in a hug and crying into his shoulder. Naruto had a small sad smile on his face. I'm sorry, Sarah's. It was in my blood. I can't explain it. It was like a rush to prove myself. I never meant to hurt you. Please forgive me, Sarah's, said Naruto, hugging her tightly. Sarah's looked up at him, before kissing him full on the lips. She pulled back and smiled with more tears in her eyes. You big lug. I'll always forgive you, because I care for you, said Sarah's as she kissed Naruto again. Naruto felt things in the kiss he never thought he would feel in his life. He felt love. Love that came from the deepest part of a person's heart and soul. This was the kiss of someone who you wanted to spend the rest of your life with. Naruto was starting to feel more. He started to feel hunger. A dark hunger as he moved his lips from Sarah's and kissed her neck, earning a light moan out of her. She then grabbed at his hair as he pushed her up against the wall of the roof. He continued to kiss and caress her lovely body. He then felt it. A pulse in her neck. Naruto could not reset the hunger that came. Naruto moved his head back and then bit down on her vein, drawing blood and making her moan out loud. Naruto-kun, said Sarah's as she wrapped her strong and shapely legs around his waist. When Sarah's called his name, that brought him out of whatever trance he was in. Naruto pulled his fangs from out of her neck, getting a small whimper of disappointment from Sarah's. Naruto pulled back and looked at her with wide eyes. What have I done? Said Naruto, fearing what he had just done before running off. Naruto, wait! Yelled Sarah's, taking off after him. In the woods. Naruto didn't know how long he ran, but he knew he had run for a while. He stopped in a small clearing with a full moon out. He panted before he sat down. He didn't know what emotion had overcome him, but it scared him. He bit Sarah's and would have most likely tried to have his way with her if she didn't call out his name. He was brought out of his trance as Sarah's came up to him. Go away, Sarah's. I don't want to hurt you again, said Naruto, only for Sarah's to put a comforting hand on his face and force him to look into her eyes. Sarah's then leaned down and kissed him. Naruto. What just happened was natural. I didn't know your blood was so active for one so young, but I can tell you this, I was not hurt. In fact, I enjoyed it beyond what anyone could expect. You made me feel loved, and not just in a physical sense. I almost couldn't control myself and nearly mated with you on the spot. One day I'd like to mark you as my mate, but, for now I'm content with being in your arms, said Sarah's, leaning down and kissing him. Naruto pulled Sarah's into his arms for a strong embrace. Sarah's, I have to tell you something. As you more than likely knew, QB is sealed in me. She awakened my blood, made me stronger, faster, and nearly doubled my thinking power and speed. I am for all intents and purposes a vampire, but without all the weaknesses, said Naruto with a smile as Sarah's hit his arm softly. You prat. Vampire or human, it doesn't matter to me. I like you just the way you are and will always care for you, said Sarah's with a laugh. Sarah's, I have to ask you what has truly happened to me and why were you hurt so bad by Zabuza's sword? Sarah's closed her eyes and leaned on Naruto. The second is easy. That sword was made from holy relics and passed through the line. When Sir Integra's eldest child took over the organization, a swordsman from Japan came in and pledged that his family would serve the Hellsing line for as long as the line existed. The first one is much harder. You basically smelled a female vampire who was ready to give birth to children. It's so embarrassing. I want them now, but I have to wait for just a little longer. I'm waiting for you to be ready, said Ceres with a light blush. Let's head back to the house, said Naruto. Naruto stood up and lifted Ceres' bridal style, making her laugh with joy before she kissed him. In Zabuza's hideout, a girl sat next to Zabuza as he took some medicine. The girl had long black hair, an angelic face, looked around 15, stood at 5 feet 5 inches, had a body most girls her age would kill for, wearing a loose pink kimono. Zabuza was pissed off. He got beat by a kid, and to make matters worse it could have been the Hellsing heir. Haku, said Zabuza looking at the girl. Yes, Zabuza-sama, asked the girl taking out a washcloth. What was it that the girl said before she threw me like a rag doll? Asked Zabuza. It was hard for me to hear even with my training in silent killing, but it sounded like. We fight by the side of Lord Hellsing in the name of Her Majesty for God. Why Zabuza-sama? Asked Haku. It was something that had me bugged, said Zabuza while thinking. It seems that my family will soon be back in the service of the Hellsings, but not without making sure we're not wasting out time and power for a weakling, thought Zabuza, knowing that the next time he was in for a real fight. At Tazuna's house, Naruto and Ceres had returned to the house rather late, so they took the room that Ceres was given. Ceres was now waking up and felt really comfortable. She looked up and saw a sleeping Naruto with his arm wrapped around her. His coat, vest, hat, glasses, and shirt were in a hair, leaving him in a black tank top. She snuggled up to Naruto and closed her eyes, wishing for the peace to continue. She went back to sleep in no time flat. It was another 2 hours before either of them awake. Naruto was the first one, and he glanced down at Ceres. His mate, of sorts, since only she had the mark right now. Naruto just lay there admiring her beauty. She was probably one of the most beautiful women in the world, but to Naruto she was more. He kissed the top of her head and was about to get up, only to find Ceres now straddling him. Ceres smiled and then leaned down and kissed him. It didn't stop there as she ran her tongue over his lower lip, asking for entrance. Naruto opened his mouth and let her slip her tongue in. Naruto put his hands on her thighs, making her jump a bit at the feeling. He then moved his to her ass. Ceres moaned in the kiss as Naruto started to pinch and squeeze it. They were at it for a good 15 minutes before someone opened the door. Ceres-sensei, have you seen Na? Started Sakura, only to go wide-eyed at what she saw. Ceres got off Naruto, both blushing and panting heavily. Sakura walked out the room while muttering something about brothers taking all the hot chicks. Ceres looked at Naruto and saw that his pants had become a bit tight, while she herself would probably need a very cold shower and some new panties. Ceres looked at Naruto, got up and kissed him before grabbing a scroll. I'm getting Sakura-chan later. I was enjoying your hands on my ass, said Ceres, walking out while Naruto grabbed his scroll and opened it. He unsealed a blue 3/4 long sleeve t-shirt and put it on. He then sealed his other shirt, hat, and glasses, and put on his vest and coat. Naruto left the room and walked down the stairs. The second he did, every eye was on him. Kiba, Kakashi, and Tazuna all gave him thumbs up. Sasuke was looking at him with jealousy. Sakura and Tsunami stood near the sink, giggling and blushing. It took 5 minutes for Ceres to come down, and when she did, Sasuke was standing next to her. Get upstairs and undress so I can have my turn with you. Who knows? You might not want to go back to the dobe, said Sasuke, trying a lady-killer smile. Kiba held in a breath as he moved away from a pissed-off Naruto. Naruto's eyes were flashing from purple to blue to red and back again. Oh shit. He is so going to die now. I'll just hide in your coat, said Akamaru, stating a fact as he hid in Kiba's jacket. I'm with you on that one, little buddy. Take cover, said Kiba, jumping behind the couch. Ceres was stunned. Uchiha had just basically told her to spread her legs like some whore, and to top it off he tried a lady-killer smile. That smile didn't work on her, Sakura, Hinata, Kurenai, or Anko. 1. I didn't do anything with Naruto. 2. Even if I did, I would kill you the second you brought your limp dick anywhere near me, and 3. If I didn't, my mate would, said Ceres as she grabbed Sasuke's shoulders and kneed him below the belt. Every male in the house winced and covered themselves. Sakura walked up to Sasuke and looked at him. You got knocked the fuck out, exclaimed Sakura, laughing at a hurting Sasuke. Let's get training. We never knew when more enemies might appear, said Kakashi as they all walked out the house, well limped in Sasuke's case. Naruto looked at the sky. Why do I feel we forgot something? Asked Naruto to no one. Outside, Kakashi and Ceres stood in front of their students with grins on their faces. Alright everyone, today we'll be learning a few new jutsu, said Kakashi. How many? Asked Sasuke, looking hungry for power. Just 2 today. An offensive one, and a defensive, said Ceres while Sasuke glared at them. What? I don't need defensive attacks. I need powerful offensive ones, said Sasuke, glaring at his teachers. While it should be noted that offensive jutsu are powerful, sometimes defense is better. Now watch. Ox, ram, monkey, hare, dragon, bird, dog, monkey. Wind style. Cutting vortex, said Kakashi. As a massive wind turned into 5 small tornadoes and started to head towards Sarah's. The small tornadoes started to lash out with blades of wind. Here's the defense. Snake, tiger, ram, rat, hare, ox, boar, dragon, ox, bird. Earth and water fusion style. Spiked mud wall jutsu, said Sarah's as a small wall of mud rose up out the ground and had spikes coming out every few seconds. The tornadoes hit Teehee wall causing a small explosion to occur sending mud everywhere. That's how those jutsu go. You will practice them for an hour. After that we move to taijutsu training. Naruto, you and Sakura will come with me for sword training. I may not be as good as I once was, but I may be able to get you two in shape, even if you use your vampiric powers, said Kakashi, making Naruto, Kiba, Sarah's, and Naruto's eyes go wide while Sasuke looked pissed about something. As always. Why does the Dobi get special treatment when it should be me? He's a weakling compared to me, and whatever was going to come out his mouth was stopped by Kakashi's killing intent. Sasuke, I'm telling you this once. Never insult my sensei's son. I didn't know he was sensei's son for more than 13 years, and yet I guarded him for most of his childhood. Sasuke, you have been spoiled by the village, but out here you're nothing but a brat. I'd squash you like a bug if you don't get your act together, said Kakashi as the training began. Naruto picked up the wind technique fast and was able to use it as a steady defense as well as attack within half an hour. He spent the other half just getting the mud wall a good 6 feet tall. Sakura too got the hang of the jutsu in no time at all. Only Kiba and Sasuke had trouble with it. After the hour was up they started taijutsu training. Naruto was easily the most powerful in the group, while Kiba was the fastest. Sakura used more flexibility when fighting, and Sasuke turned out to be rather skilled. After they finished taijutsu training, Kakashi pulled Naruto and Sakura to the side so he could start their sword training. When pulled to the side, Naruto took off his coat and glared at Kakashi as Sakura appeared behind him with her second kodachi at his throat while Naruto quickly used some wire to restrain him. Naruto then put jackal to Kakashi's head. Start talking, Kakashi. How did you know I'm a vampire? It'd also be wise not to lie to me, asked Naruto, making sure Kakashi knew he meant business. You can relax, you two. Aside from Hokage-sama's teammates, Sakura, Kiba and Sarah's, no one knows. Minato-sensei had the blood, but could only activate 1/20th of the power. You however have come into your own. Making into a bloodline, said Kakashi as Sakura pulled away and the wires went slack. You do realize that we can use our weapons all right, said Naruto, putting jackal back in its holster. I knew, but you're going to be exports by the time I'm done, said Kakashi with a glint in his eye that made Sakura and Naruto scared. 3 days later. After intense 3-day training with Kakashi and the others, Naruto walked off on his own. They had spent most of their time training, but Kakashi always left 3 shadow clones at the bridge. Another thing that happened, Naruto spent the last few nights sleeping with Sarah's. Not in an intimate way, but a loving couple type of thing. Naruto decided to spend his morning walking around. He left his coat, sword and Joshua behind. Naruto walked until he heard a light singing. He jumped into a tree and saw a very striking girl singing a lovely song. In the days of snow, I was free to know, love and joy. I was just young and free with my whole life ahead of me, a loving mother and strong father with absolute love for their young daughter. The lies that they shielded me from are days long gone to the wind. I've led a life of sin. I wish to one day look at the night sky and knew that they are watching me, and though the path I chose is full of sorrow, I'm still happy. To find someone to love, that is my dream, and to live happily is my dream. Finished the girl with a small tear falling from her eye. Naruto jumped out the tree and landed near her. He locked his purple eyes with her brown orbs. Naruto gave her a small smile. Such a sad song for such a lovely voice, said Naruto, making the girl wipe her eyes quickly and blush. I'm sorry. I lived a bit of a hard life. It takes me back to before that time. A time when I was happy with my family, said the girl, smiling. Naruto stared into her eyes. What do you have to be sorry for? I'm the one who invaded your moment of solace. I'm Naruto. May I ask for the name of the lovely lady before me? Said Naruto with another smile. The girl blushed. My name is Haku. Naruto-kun, are you a ninja? Asked Haku, for she didn't have any of her weapons on her. Yes, I am. I spent my life trying to become one. I've given up more blood, sweat, and tears than anyone in my home village realizes, said Naruto, looking at the sky. It's hard being alone. The pain will never go away, but as long as you have precious people you will always have strength, said Haku, putting her hand over Naruto's heart and smiled. Naruto smiled back and moved her hand to her lap. Precious people, huh? There are few who have that place in my heart. I would die to protect them, said Naruto, standing up. Haku stood as well. Don't let that flame go, because it may be the thing to save your life someday, said Haku, walking off. What a kind girl, but her eyes tell a different story altogether. It like looking into a hell that seems so relentless, said Naruto. All eyes are that way and no matter how hard you try you can't hide what's truly there, came Yoko's voice. Yoko-chan, I hope to never feel pain like that again, thought Naruto, putting his hand over his heart. I knew, Naruto-kun. I knew, said Yoko. Time to train, said Naruto, taking out his sword and making a mass number of clones. Later that night, Sakura and Kiba had went out to drag Naruto back to the house. When they got him back he had multiple cuts, bruises, and a busted rib or two. Sarah's had started to heal him. What the hell happened to you, Naruto? Asked Kakashi, who was doing push-ups with Tazuna and Tsunami on his back. He is currently on 167. Ha ha ha. The toughest enemy is oneself, and when you multiply it times 200, said Naruto as he got into sit-up position after Sarah's was done healing him. You might want to be more careful. The mental backlash could leave you in a comatose-like state, said Kakashi. No worries. Brother normally bounces back from worse, said Sakura, smiling. You have no right to talk after all you tried to bash my brains in with a frying pan, which you had just took off the stove. You walked in on me planning on have I would take Ino, said Sakura with a blush. You also had your hand in the cookie jar, said Naruto with a perverted grin. It was my 12th birthday. What did you expect me to do, let you watch? Said Sakura, grinning. I also remember it was after that incident that you stopped giving a rat's ass if I saw you doing that, said Naruto, shaking his head. Can you two bicker another time? Hearing this stuff is hot and all, but I'd rather I was near a girl who's willing, said Kiba. I knew who I'm betting tonight, said Sarah, startling Naruto's waist and kissing him. Everyone was laughing at their antics, except for Inari. He just glared at Naruto. The way that Naruto acted around his friends was the way his father acted. Inari stood up and glared at Naruto harder. Trash, said Inari, stopping the laughter. What did you say? Asked Naruto as Sarah stood up. You heard me, you piece of shit. How can you sit there and joke? We lost everything. Geto will destroy you and it will be your own damn fault. Our lives are hard as it is. We don't need you here making things worse, said Inari. Naruto stared at Inari with a heated look. Tazuna and Tsunami looked down in shame. Sasuke was looking at Naruto trying to figure out what the blonde-haired boy would do, but it was surprisingly Sakura who did something. She grabbed the young boy by the collar and slammed her fist into his face with enough force to hurl him into the wall. Inari slid down the wall with a split lip. Sakura, that was uncalled for. Yelled Sarah's, only for Naruto to put a hand on her shoulder. Look at her eyes, Sarah's. It's all there in Sakura-chan's eyes, said Naruto, tightening his grip a bit. Sarah's looked into Sakura's eyes and saw a powerful pain, as well as if she was looking into the past. A hurt past, a past filled with so much pain and sorrow. Sarah's felt herself looking into the past, but quickly forced back the memory. You little shit. What do you knew of pain? Huh, I've lived with pain for most of my life. My mother is the biggest fucking whore in the Hidden Leaf Village and no one will say anything because she is head of the civilian council. You want to know what the worst thing that I remember is? Sometimes she would bring in about 4 men and another woman in ropes. I would be tied to a chair and watched as they raped that woman and my mother just kept giving head and fucking them like nothing was happening. I was 7 when she first started doing this. At 10 my mother made me suck a man's cocks while she used a strap-on on me. After that for over a year she used the strap-on while I had to suck on a man's cock. I hated it, said Sakura, running out of the house with tears falling from her eyes. Is it true what she just said? Asked Kakashi, feeling sick for ever touching Councilwoman Haruno. Every word. Sakura, hide the pain from me, but I saw it for myself. Sakura had been missing for a week at the academy at age 11. So had Councilwoman Haruno. I went to Sakura's house to make sure she was alright. I sunk into the house and went to Sakura's room. What I saw will forever be burned in my mind, said Naruto, looking down and clenching his fist. What did you see, Naruto? Asked Tazuna, feeling so sick that he thought all his years of sake would come up. Sakura lay on her bed necked, her hand and feet tied so that they were open. On Sakura lay her mother, just pounding into her with that damn strap on. Behind her was a councilman with one arm. On all sides of Sakura were 2 men, jacking up to the sight of what was happening. Sakura lay there with tears in her eyes, yelling her heart out, covered in those bastards' seed, but what made it worse was what her mother said. The words that made me want to destroy Konoha. I own you, Sakura. I own your body. I will fuck you when I want and no one else will touch you unless I say so. That was probably one of the first times I cried my heart out. I swore that when I came into power they would all pay. They would pay with more than their lives. Haruno will be the last on my list, said Naruto, getting up and walking away the house, slamming the door behind him. Why make a vow you can never keep? Asked Sasuke, crossing his arms. Sasuke, I will keep my promise, because they hurt my little sister. Any hell I bring them will be long overdue. Besides, Sakura was not the only person that Haruno bitch raped along with her little friends, said Naruto walking out the front down while trying not to think of the past. Inari was crying as was Tsunami. Ceres was fighting to hold in her tears. Tazuna had dropped his sake bottle. Anything that happens to those pricks will be too good for them, said Kiba growling. Outside, Sakura sat on the pier with her knees up to her chest trying to fight back the tears in her eyes. It had taken nearly 6 mouths to suppress those memories, but they came flooding back to her in an instant of rage. She could feel everything her mother had done to her and it made her want to cry out. The moon was out and looked lovely to be viewed by someone as damaged as she was. Sakura felt a hand on her shoulder. She looked and saw Naruto. Sakura, you don't have to be strong all the time, you knew. If you want to cry, then let me be a shoulder for you to cry on, let me cry with you. Anything so I never have to see you sad, said Naruto. That was all it took for Sakura to throw her arms around Naruto's neck as she let out a yell and sobbed. Naruto just rubbed her back and patted her hair. Sakura would never admit it, but the way Naruto treated her made her feel like she was someone to be loved. Sakura just cried her heart out. After nearly an hour of crying, she fell asleep. Naruto looked at the moon. Haruno, the things you did to my little sister will not go unpunished, thought Naruto, renewing the promise he made. Naruto then looked down at the IRL he loved like a younger sister, before he kissed the top of her head. Sakura-chan. As long as I'm here, I'll do everything in my power to make sure you never have to cry again, said Nachuo, picking her up and taking Sakura to her room. In Tazuna's house, Ceres opened her eyes to the morning sun. She didn't feel any extra warmth or added weight in her bed, meaning that Naruto had comforted Sakura last night. While Ceres could understand she could only comfort Sakura as a friend, but Naruto would not let anyone near her with how depressed she is right now. Ceres stood up and walked over to a mirror and glanced at her body. She put her hands on her breasts, before sliding them down over her entire body, stopping at her hips. She knew Naruto would be rather late getting to bed, so she had option to sleep without her bra on, leaving her D-cup breasts free of clothing for the night. She had a rather heated dream about herself and Naruto that made her blush cherry red. Just thinking about that dream made her wet with lust. She moved her hand down towards her womanhood and started to rub herself. She started to pant. She then walked over to the bed and laid down and removed her panties. She then pushed 2 fingers into herself and moaned loudly. She pulled them out slightly and sent them right back in, moaning just as loud. Ceres grabbed her left breast and started to pinch her nipple, getting a small bit of milk out, and let out a gasp. After that, she started to finger herself faster while adding a 3rd finger. Ceres was trying to hold back her release so she could get maximum pleasure out of it. It was no good, because after 3 more minutes of fingering herself, she came hard, while yelling Naruto's name. She laid back on the bed and panted. Damn, that has got to be the hottest thing I've ever seen in my life, said Naruto, standing at the door with a grin on his face. How long did you watch me, Naruto-kun? Asked Ceres, panting. From beginning to end, said Naruto, making Ceres blush. Did anyone hear me? Asked Ceres, feeling even more aroused knowing Naruto was watching her. Nope. Tazuna, Sasuke, and Kakashi are at the bridge. Kiba is guarding Tsunami and Inari while they're at her friend's home, and Sakura is sleeping, said Naruto. Warning, lemon alert. Ceres got up and walked over to Naruto, before wrapping her hands around his neck. As long as everyone is out, let's finish what we started before Sakura stopped us the other day, said Ceres, kissing Naruto as he lifted her up by her ass and sat her on the bed. Sarah looked up and saw Naruto only had on his undershirt and his shinobi pants. She pulled off Naruto's shirt and started to kiss him again with burning passion. Naruto started down and kissed her throat and lightly bit it, making Ceres moan and grab his hair. He moved down and kissed the valley between her breasts and then started to suck and kneel them. Ceres let out a loud moan. This was a wonderful sensation she was feeling. She had never felt anything like this in her life. The fire, the lust, the love. It just made her want to scream in pure bliss. Naruto moved even further down and kissed her nicely toned stomach and navel, before he got down to her womanhood. Naruto licked all around her outer lips, making Ceres gasp and garb his hair tighter. Naruto thrust his tongue into Ceres, making her buck her hips and yell out loud. Naruto then pulled his tongue out and licked her clit, making her eyes roll into the back of her head. Naruto then slipped both his fingers into Ceres, making her yell. Ceres-chan, your pussy is dripping wet, said Naruto as he took his fingers out and started to suck on her clit. It didn't take more than a minute for Ceres to come. Naruto-kun, yelled Ceres when her orgasm hit her. Naruto kept thrusting his tongue inside her, prolonging her orgasm. It was nearly a minute later that she was done. She lay there in her afterglow, determined not to pass out. Naruto came up and kissed her lightly before kneading her breasts, making her moan. Naruto-kun, said Ceres, sitting up. Naruto stood up and Ceres helped him out of his pants and boxers in one swift tug. Ceres was surprised at the size of his member. It was at least 11 inches long and at least an inch thick. Sarah's got on her knees and started to stroke his member, before she licked the tip. Naruto groaned in approval and started to rub his hands in her hair. Sarah's then kissed the tip before taking his dick into her mouth. She started to suck on it and lightly bob her head. She then took him in deeper. She started to suck harder, getting a moan out of Naruto. Sarah's then deep-throated him, making Naruto gasp as she took all of him in. She pulled off and took as much in as she could before she started to stroke the rest of his member. Sarah's I'm about to, started Naruto as Sarah stared to stroke faster and suck harder. Sarah's then pulled off him and opened her mouth. Naruto's cum landed in her mouth and on her face and the top of her breasts. Sarah's then used her fingers to clean herself up. She stared into Naruto's eyes before giving him a heated kiss. She pulled back and gave Naruto a loving look. Naruto-kun, I need you in me now, said Sarah's as she lay back on the bed. Naruto positioned himself at her entrance and gave her a glance. Won't this hurt for you, Sarah's? Asked Naruto, giving her a look of concern which she just smiled at. Don't worry, Naruto-kun. I popped my hymen years ago during a training trip. So go as wild as you want, because I plan on going wild, said Sarah's as Naruto pinned her with a kiss. Naruto pushed into Sarah's slowly and both of them gasped. Naruto, because of how tight and warm Sarah's was, Sarah's because of how Naruto just filled her. Naruto pulled almost all the way, making Sarah's groan in disappointment, before he rammed right back into her, making her scream out in pure pleasure. Naruto pulled out again and made her arc her back and let out a loud moan. Naruto continued this slow strong pace for a good 10 minutes. Fuck. Naruto-kun, fuck me faster, yelled Sarah's as she leaned up and bit his neck. Naruto gasped and started to thrust into Sarah's faster, making her yell out with each thrust. The fire that was burning in her only grew hotter as Naruto thrust into her faster and harder. After nearly half an hour, Sarah's had come 4 times and Naruto once. Naruto was close to releasing his seed into her again. Damn, Sarah's I'm about to come, said Naruto as his thrusts became harder and faster. He was going to give his mate all he had. Naruto, I don't care. Come in me. Give me your seed. Give me your child, yelled Sarah's, her eyes nearly rolling into her head and her mouth opened. Naruto speed up his thrusts and bit down on Srisa's neck, which she returned in kind. After that, both came hard. Sarah's could feel their juices mixing inside her as she let out a loud scream. Lemon end. Naruto laid on the side of Sarah's, both sweating hard. Naruto pulled out of Sarah's with a small pop, making Sears moan a little. Naruto wrapped his arms around Sarah's and gave her a tender kiss on the lips, which she eagerly returned. They pulled back and stared into each other's eyes, both filled with love and joy. Sarah's wrapped her arms around Naruto and gave him a kiss. I love you, Naruto-kun, said Sarah's with a smile. And I love you, Sarah's, said Naruto as he laid on his back and pulled Sarah's on top of him. They both fell into a dreamless sleep in each other's arms. Later that day, Kakashi and the others had just walked in and were all laughing until Sakura walked down the stairs and made a shushing noise. Naruto-kun and Sarah's sensei are asleep right now, said Sakura, fighting off a blush, which Tsunami reckoned and aided Sakura. Well, I guess I'll just have to wake them up, said Sasuke, starting to walk up the stairs only for Tsunami to stop him. If they are asleep, who are we to wake them up? Said Tsunami. In Naruto and Sarah's room. Naruto awoke and felt a small weight on his chest. He opened his eyes and looked down to see Sarah snuggling up to him like he was a pillow. Naruto smiled at her. He could not explain it, but just being near her made him feel like the world was just so golden. Naruto leaned down and kissed her head, waking her up. Sarah stared at Naruto with love in her eyes, before she leaned up and kissed him with love. She pulled back and smiled. How are you feeling, Foxy-kun? Asked Sarah, startling his waist. Naruto smiled at her. Like I just woke up from having the best damn lovemaking ever, said Naruto, kissing her again. Good answer. Now let's get up and dressed, said Sarah's, grabbing her scroll and taking out a pair of tight white pants, a tight black shirt on, and pulled on her gloves. Naruto got up and walked behind her, pulling her into a hug before kissing her neck, making Sarah's moan slightly. I'll meet you downstairs, Sarah's-chan, said Naruto, pulling away and slapping her ass, before putting on his usual clothes. Downstairs. Sarah's walked down the stairs with a limp and a smile on her face. Just by looking at her you could tell she was laid. Kakashi just read his porn book and grinned, coagulating the lucky bastard who got into her pants. Damn, somebody tapped that ass, said Kiba, making Tazuna laugh, Tsunami and Sasuke blush, and Sakura grin. Mommy, what does that mean? Asked Inari innocently. Only to find Tsunami pat his head. I'll tell you when you're older, said Tsunami. We can keep that under wraps for now, said Kakashi as Sasuke stood up and walked over to Sarah's, who was talking with Sakura, and bowed. I want to apologize for all the things I've said or done over the past few months, said Sasuke, shocking everyone. Everyone with ninja training put their hands in a ram sign and yelled out Kai, only for nothing to happen. Okay, why did you do that? Asked Sasuke looking at everyone. Sasuke Uchiha doesn't say I'm sorry. This has got to be a genjutsu, said Kiba with Akamaru barking in agreement. Look, I knew I've been an ass, but after the shit that was said a few days ago it opened my eyes. I thought that because I lost my clan I had special treatment, but Sakura had it so much worse than I did and for that I'm sorry, said Sasuke as Sakura got on her knees and made him look into her eyes. Your apology is accepted, Sasuke, said Sakura. Sasuke, you'd better not get any ideas about my sister, said Naruto making Sasuke gulp. Alright then everyone up to bed. We have a long day tomorrow at the bridge, said Kakashi as everyone walked up the stairs and went to sleep, except Naruto and Sarah's who put up a sound and sight barrier for the night. The next day. Sasuke, Naruto, Kiba, Tazuna, and Kakashi all stood together as they prepared to leave the house. Sakura and Sarah's had decided to stay and protect the house as Geto may have made it a prime target. At the bridge. The group soon arrived at the bridge only to find many of the workers knocked out. A heavy mist soon rolled in and went out showing Zabuza and the young woman who rescued him along with about 35 of Gate's mercenaries. So Geto sent in his ace with a couple of his goons, said Naruto pulling out Jackal. He then slipped the normal clip out and pulled out a clip that had a red seal on it. Naruto aimed the gun at Zabuza and fired it. Zabuza and the girl jumped away instantly leaving the mercs open. The bullet hit a merc in the face and exploded with the force of 5 explosive tags. It did widespread damage killing 10 MECs and injuring the others greatly. I thought the damage would be less than that, said Naruto drawing his sword as Zabuza and the girl reappeared. Interesting. He didn't use the thing in our last fight. Haku, he's mine, the others are yours, said Zabuza pulling out his sword. I'll take them down, Zabuza-sama, said Haku pulling out some Senbon needles. Zabuza charged at Naruto who grinned and held his sword off to his left side as Zabuza brought his sword that way. They both struggled for a good 10 seconds before Naruto pushed his off and glared at him. Zabuza pulled out a kunai and held it in one hand while his sword was in the other. Naruto fired off 6 shots and Zabuza used the kunai to slice them all up. Naruto jumped back and fired another shot making Zabuza duck. What the hell? There's no way something that little can hold whatever the hell those other things are, said Zabuza glaring at Jackal. Naruto laughed for a second before pulling his clip out and slamming in a normal one. Each of my clips has a seal on them that extends the capacity from the usual 7 to 24, said Naruto holding the gun up and cocking it. As expected of the Hellsing house, said Zabuza as he jumped at Naruto again. With Haku, Sasuke and Kiba. Kiba and Sasuke stood and tried to gain an advantage in battle with this girl, but she was fast almost more so than Kiba. It was as if she was using the teleportation jutsu. 1 minute Kiba or Sasuke would have a clan shot at her, the next she was gone. Kiba and Sasuke stood back to back. Damn, she's getting annoying, said Sasuke as a Senbon hit him in his arm. I knew. With all this mist around it's clearing the scent in the air so it's hard to pinpoint her location, said Kiba as the girl appeared in front of them. Both lashed out with kunai only for the Haku to shatter into ice. And for a small group of 10 to surround them. I have never known someone to be so cruel to a girl before. Lashing out with those kunai like that, said the Hakus as all of them had large ice claws coming out of their hands. This is bad, said Kiba. I'll take care of this. Fire style. Phoenix flower jutsu, yelled Sasuke as Kiba jumped in the air so Sasuke could fire the flowers in a full circle. Only parts of the ice clones were destroyed. It takes more than that to destroy us, said the clones. Then let me have a go. Man-beast clone, man-beast transformation, ultimate taijutsu fang over fang. Yelled out Kiba pulling off all 3 jutsu in rapid order. 2 twin tornadoes stared to go around and demolish all of the ice clones. After they were gone, Haku appeared in front of them forming rapid hand sings. Don't get too cocky, this party is only started to get underway. Secret jutsu. Crystal ice sword, said Haku making a elegant rapier appear in front of her. The blade was pure ice while the hilt curved and had a snow flak at the end. She picked the blade out and gave it a quick slash across the ground leaving a small gash in it. Big deal. Fire style. Grand fireball jutsu, said Sasuke lancing a large fireball at Haku. Haku went though a couple of one-handed seals. Secret ice style. Mirror reflection jutsu, said Haku as a small mirror appeared in front of her and bounced the attack at the boys. Sasuke and Kiba both ducked but Kiba started a few hand signs. Wind style. Cutting vortex jutsu, said Kiba making 3 tornadoes appear and block the fireball. Damn her, said Sasuke as his eyes flashed red for a second. I'm done playing with you too. Secret jutsu crystal ice mirrors, said Haku as about 15 mirrors rose out the ground and formed a dome around Kiba and Sasuke. Both stood up and looked around as every single mirror had a Haku in it with a sword in one hand, a few Senbon in the other. Now you die, said Haku launching the Senbon at them. Kiba jumped out the way only for a Senbon to hit him anyway. Sasuke did no better and still got hit with a few of the needles. Even Akamaru got one in his shoulder. Haku rushed out of one of the mirrors and was about to cut Kiba in two when she felt resistance in the form of a Kodachi. Haku saw the pink-haired girl in front of her with two Kodachis in hand blocking her strike. The pink-haired girl used some freakish strength to throw Haku back. Haku flipped in the air and landed in her mirror before moving. Next time I won't miss, said Haku preparing for another assault. Bearing it on bitch. Nobody messes with my friends and gets away with it, said Sakura getting into a stance. Back with Zabuza and Naruto. Naruto blocked Zabuza's overhead slash and countered with a spinning downward slash that Zabuza was able to parry. Naruto jumped into the air and started a few hand signs. Fire style. Phoenix flower jutsu, said Naruto shooting hundreds of little balls at Zabuza. Zabuza started his own hand signs. Serpent, tiger, hare, bird, horse, monkey, bird, boar. Water style. Great water wall jutsu, said Zabuza as a massive amount of water flowed up and covered Zabuza making all the little fireballs sizzle into nothing. Zabuza attacked Naruto at full speed. Naruto ducked under a slash, only to be caught with a slash to the chest. Blood fell to the ground and Naruto retaliated with a slash to Zabuza's leg, but it was only deep enough to cause a bit of pain. Naruto quickly rushed Zabuza and head-butted him making Zabuza bleed. Zabuza responded with a hard punch to Naruto's jaw, making blood fly out. Naruto jumped back only to find Zabuza brining his sword under his chin. Naruto flipped into the air to avoid the sword. Naruto landed on the ground while putting his sword into a defensive stance. Damn it, shadow clone jutsu, said Naruto making 4 clones. You're an interesting one, kid. Turning that mid-C rank jutsu into something that could rival a low A rank one. I got to tell you I'm impressed, said Zabuza as the clones rushed at him. I'm going to make you pay, that was my favorite shirt and jacket asshole, said Naruto preparing for another attack. The first clone brought Zabuza into a stalemate, while 2 others dropped low and tried to cut off his legs. Zabuza jumped up only to be met with the last 2 who both brought a blade at Zabuza's head, one from behind and the other from the front. Zabuza used his sword to block the back one while he used a chakra-empowered arm to stop the second. Sure, he wouldn't be able to use his arm for the rest of the fight, but it was a hell of a lot better deal than losing his head. Zabuza landed and looked around as the clones surrounded him in 4 areas. Zabuza saw the original standing a little off to the side. Zabuza raised his sword preparing for a fight. Don't move. Those aren't the shadow clones you fought, those are exploding clones. Packed with enough chakra to reduce a medium-sided village to rubble. Do you surrender? Asked Naruto as Zabuza was wide-eyed. He beat me. He truly beat me. He didn't outpower me or beat me with jutsu knowledge. No, he outsmarted me. I can't use the replacement with this busted arm of mine, and the minute I charge those clones go up and I go with them, thought Zabuza. Zabuza sighed as he got to one knee. I vow as the leader of the Momochi clan to serve the Hellsing family as long as they need the Momochi clan, said Zabuza as the clones went up in sum. Sakura, you can stop playing with Haku-chan now, said Naruto as Sarah's appeared next to him. Sakura and Haku had a blade to each other's throats. Sakura had gashes all along her chest area, while Haku battle kimono was hanging down showing off a little cleavage and her pants were ripped up something fierce. Must have been desperate to use that attack on Haku, thought Naruto. Naruto's thoughts were cut short as they heard clapping. Everyone looked at the end of the bridge to see a man wearing a suit with a cane in hand. With some of the funkiest hair you'd ever seen, behind him stood close to 200 mercs and what appeared to be 2 genin-level missing nins. Who the fuck are you, asshole? Running up here disturbing our fight? Asked Naruto pointing his sword at the man. A midget in a suit, said Kiba with a hint of sarcasm. More like a shrimp with a fancy stick, said Kakashi making everyone on their side laugh except Zabuza and Tazuna who had paled to white. Gedu, said Haku Zabuza, and Tazuna at once. Thank you for that introduction, said Gedu with a smirk looking at all the women. I don't give a damn if it was the death-freaking god himself. No gets to interrupt my fight. Zabuza, can you still fight? Asked Naruto in a tone of command as if he and Zabuza hadn't have fought at all. Yes, Lord Hellsing. One arm is working good, but one is all I need to kill those damned pigs, said Zabuza feeling the power Naruto held in his voice. I want you Kakashi and Sarah's to deal with those bandits, Sakura Haku deal with that trash that dare to call themselves ninja. I'm taking Gedu out before he can run, said Naruto preparing for a battle. Gedu started to laugh as he then pulled off his jacket and shirt leaving him in only a tank top. He then grew to be at least 7 feet, even one of the mercs handed him an axe with a 4-foot stick on it. Let's see that you got brat. After I kill you I'm taking all these girls to bed. One by one I'll fuck them all making 2 of them watch at a time, then they're going to help my men. After we're done they're going to the slave rings along with all the nice young village girls, said Gedu only to fill a bullet with past his cheek. He looked and saw Naruto with a smoking silver gun in his right hand and a black gun in his left. Naruto was looking down. He holstered Joshua and pulled out his shades and hat. He put them on and glared at Gedu, but you could barely tell. You Gedu have bled this land dry. I don't think even the all-forgiving God will say I forgive you for the sins you have listed. You threatened my sister, my friend, and my mate, for that I won't forgive you, said Naruto charging at Gedu. Gedu raised the axe and brought it down only for Naruto to slide past it and put 2 bullets in Gedu's chest. Before he stood up, put the guns to either side of Gedu-san, started T-shot in random direction, but each shot hit a mark. Naruto felt his guns click, meaning that he wasted all his shots. He let the clips slip out and was about to reload them only for a hand to grab the back of his shirt and throw him a good 10 meters away. Naruto rolled on the ground, before he was able to slide into a kneeled position and look up panting. He saw that the one who threw him was Gedu. The 2 bullets that had been in his chest had been ejected. Gedu looked at Naruto rather pissed off. That hurt you little bastard, said Gedu rubbing his chest where 2 bullet holes were. It was supposed to kill you Gedu, said Naruto as Gedu smirked again, revealing 2 very long and sharp canines. I think it was all thanks to my little friend that I had inserted into my body a while back. A little black chip with hundreds of lines, said Gedu as Ceres appeared next to Naruto. So you have a freak chip inside your body, said Ceres, gritting her teeth in memory of them. Call it what you want. I call it a way to get more power and money. Maybe I'll try and mass produce it and sell it to those ninja villages, said Gedu laughing. No you won't. I'll never let those things loose in the world again. Sakura, throw me your gun, said Ceres. Sakura had just stabbed her opponent in the left kidney when she heard Ceres. Sakura pulled out her gun and threw it to her. Ceres caught the gun and unloaded 10 bullets into Gedu. Gedu acted like they barely phased him. All of them fell out. Naruto grabbed 2 explosive clips and put them in both guns, before he tossed Joshua to Ceres and pulled out his sword. Cover me, said Naruto as he charged Gedu. Ceres unloaded the clip into Gedu's arms, legs and chest area, but they all exploded, making Gedu yell out in pain. Naruto was on him in a second and blasted Gedu in the head, before he jumped back and used the cutting vortex to chop his body into even more pieces. All the MRECs left alive knew that they were dealing with a monster, but they had no clue how bad. So they ran to the boat. Where do you think you're going? Came Gedu's voice. Everyone turned their heads and saw him reforming form what was left of his body. Naruto grew irritated and growled at Gedu. I knew some guys never say die, but this is ridiculous, said Naruto as Ceres looked at him. Hypocrite, said Ceres looking at Naruto. Whatever. I wanted to try out this new jutsu anyway, said Naruto as he started to go thought a long chain of hand signs. Naruto stopped on the ram. A large tornado surrounded Gedu. What's this brat, an attempt to scar me? Asked Gedu looking for an exit. Know the first part to your death, said Naruto as a small fire ignited at the base. Lightning, water, and earth started to come into the mix and the tornado tightened around Gedu. What the hell, brat? Let me out. I'll give you anything you want. Money, power, a seat as my right hand. Anything, just let me live, I beg you. Yelled Gedu over the sounds coming from the tornado. How many women have begged you to stop rapping them? How many men have begged you to spare their lives? How many children begged not to be sold as slaves? Now here you stand like they did begging, and just like you did to them I won't listen, said Naruto as all the elements flow away from Gedu. I thought you wouldn't listen to him? Asked Tazuna as all the elements reformed into Naruto's hands. Thank you for sparing me, Sama, said Gedu reaching for a kunai he kept in his back pocket. I didn't forgive you, Gedu. Oblivion style. Elemental chain destruction jutsu, said Naruto as the attack flow at Gedu in the form of a tornado with the other elements swirling around it. The last thing anyone saw or heard of Gedu, he was on his knees and screaming in agony. When the attack died down, there was nothing left, not even ashes. Naruto turned to look behind him and saw a bunch of people with makeshift weapons led by Inari and Tsunami, who held a sword in her hands with their jaws dropped. Naruto smiled at them. I said that bastard wouldn't be forgiven, and I meant every word of it, said Naruto, closing his eyes and falling forward only for Ceres to catch him in a loving embrace. Go ahead and rest, Naruto-kun, you earned it, said Ceres as the people of Wave started to chant Naruto's name. Where does that leave us, Zabuza-sama? Asked Haku, only for Zabuza to stare at her. First of all, fix your damn kimono. Second of all, we already have a destination in mind. I swore my loyalty to Lord Hellsing over there, so I'm going back to Konoha, and in those punks on the council have any problems they can take it up with my sword, said Zabuza, making Haku smile. 4 days later. Naruto groaned as he opened his eyes. He sat up and looked around. He saw that he was in his room at Tazuna's house. He felt someone holding his hand and looked down. It was Ceres, and she was sleeping soundly. Naruto smiled and kissed her on the top of the head, waking her. Ceres looked and saw a smiling Naruto. She instantly shot up and hugged him. Damn it, Naruto, you scared me, said Ceres, lightly sobbing into Naruto's chest. Shish. I'm alright, Sarah's-chan, so there's no need to worry, said Naruto as Sarah's continued to cry lightly while thinking God. The door opened and Haku along with Zabuza walked in. Only their headbands were missing and both were bandaged up. So you finally awake, Naruto-sama, said Haku bowing lightly. Hey you two. How's it been? Said Naruto as Sarah's pulled from his chest. Zabuza walked up to Naruto and stared him straight in the eye. Hurry up and finish healing, Lord Hellsing, we got a lot of work to do. I'm starting with your chakra reserves and then I'm taking you into sword lessons along with that sister of yours. You only beat me by sheer luck and trapping me. That won't work sometimes, said Zabuza. Naruto got out of bed making Haku blush and Sarah look at him hungrily. Naruto peeled off all his bandages showing no scars before he grabbed his blue shirt and coat leaving his vest sealed for now. Let's go downstairs, said Naruto walking down the stairs and out the front door seeing a bunch of people there with an odd silence. What the fuck are y'all looking at? Said Naruto making the crowd go wild as he made his way to the bridge. Standing at the bridge was Sakura casually talking with Kiba and Sasuke, and Kakashi reading his porn. They stopped what they were doing and Sakura ran up to her brother giving him a hug and a kiss on the cheek. Kiba gave Naruto a low five, and Sasuke just smirked before showing Naruto his Sharingan. I hope you don't mind, but we'll be traveling with you guys, said Zabuza looking at Kakashi. That's not going to be a problem for us, said Sarah smiling as they walked off. What should we call this bridge? Asked Tsunami looking at her father. Tazuna just pulled out a picture of Naruto with his pistols crossed over his chest with his legs parted slightly and Sakura holding her sheath in on hand while her kodachi was out and she was slightly bent. Well, call it the Hellsing Bridge in honor of the Hellsing family, said Tazuna as he got a cheer from the people. Down the road. Both Naruto and Sakura sneezed. Are you alright, Naruto-sama, Sakura-chan? Asked Haku. Somebody is talking about us, said Naruto and Sakura at the same time. On the road to Konoha. It had been 3 days since the group left Wave, but instead of running they decided to walk home. Nothing much had happened except Zabuza and Kakashi fighting over Kakashi's little orange book. Sarah's mostly talked with Haku and Sakura, while Naruto and Kiba just tried to outbug each other. They now sat in a forest clearing eating lunch when Naruto heard a small yip. Kiba and Sarah's obviously headed and rushed over to the area. They saw 2 small fox kits battling a large brown wolf that had a hungered look in his eyes. The first kit was an all-black one with white tips, paws and a patch of white fur over his right eye. The strange thing about this kit was that it had 2 tails. The other kit was pure white, with a hint of blue on its body, as all of its paws were blue. It also had 2 tails, but this kit was bleeding. The black kit stood in front of the white one and growled at the wolf as if trying to intimidate it. Naruto-kun, those are my younger siblings. Please save them, please. Yelled out Yoko trying to break free of her cage to help her siblings. I'll take out that bastard wolf before you knew it, Yoko-chan, thought Naruto. The wolf jumped at the kits. Naruto jumped in the way and grabbed the wolf by the throat before slamming him into the ground. Kiba and Akamaru then jumped on the wolf stopping any further attacks. Sarah's picked up both kits in her arms and moved away from the large wolf. She saw that both of them were injured. The black one had a small gash on his left back leg and the white one was bleeding from its left side, by the looks of it fang marks. Let's go. These 2 are injured pretty bad, said Sarah's disappearing with the kits. Kiba and Naruto not far behind. The white one lifted its head a bit and looked at Naruto. Thank you, Naruto-sama, said the white one before it passed out. They quickly returned to camp and ran to Haku. Haku-chan, you have a bit of medical knowledge, can you help these 2? Asked Naruto in a pleading tone. I'll try, Naruto-kun, said Haku as Sarah's put a blanket down so the kits could be comfortable. She quickly ran a jutsu over them. The black one has a busted ankle and apart from the gash is good. The white one however is in more serious danger. It has massive blood loss and if we use a blood pill on it that could be dangerous, said Haku as Kiba pulled out a red bag with a picture of a dog on it. I always keep a supply of animal blood pills on me in case Akamaru is hurt and losing blood, said Kiba handing over 2. Haku woke the white kid up, but it refused to take the pills from her. Naruto grabbed the pills and handed them out to the kid. The kid looked at Naruto before it nodded and took the pills before falling back into the land of dreams. Haku then took the time to wrap their injuries up so they wouldn't be infected later. Now the only thing we can do is wait for them to get up, said Haku as the sun was about to set. Zabuza stood and grabbed his sword. I'm getting fish to eat. If we're here for a while I want my belly full, said Zabuza walking off. He's a bit weird, said Kakashi making everyone look at him. You read porn and keep your face masked and you call him wired. Stated Sakura making Kakashi eye smile. My mask is to keep the fangirls away, said Kakashi laughing. Everyone's sweat dropped at his statement. Only in Konoha can you find someone like him, everyone thought. In Naruto's mind. Yoko was sitting on the floor crying her eyes out. Why, you may ask? She ruined the life of a young man who she was currently trapped in. Her younger siblings had been hurt, and she was going to be in heat in less than a week, and the only person who could help her was the one person she is trapped in and wanted to mate with. Damn it, I want out now, yelled Yoko, lashing out at the bars with her tails and claws. You're making a big ruckus. So you want to be free, Hayoko-chan? Said Alucard, appearing next to her with his smirk on full blast. Yoko used her tails to wrap him up. You're damn right I want out, you blood-drinking prick. I also want Naruto-kun to be my mate, said Yoko in a firm voice as Alucard slipped away from her. Alucard smiled. You're in luck, my dear. You see, as the last of the House of Hellsing, or in this day and age the Hellsing clan, Naruto is allowed more than one mate or wife, as those humans call them. I can also help you get free. You see, the seal is designed to hold a soul at bay. I can switch places with you, but most of your power is still locked away, so you'll only have about 3 tails of your power. Another thing. Once you're out, you will have a flesh and blood body again, said Alucard, putting his hand out. I accept your deal, Alucard, said Kyubi as she grabbed it. Instantly the whole of Naruto's mind started to change. The paper seal and cage turned to dust and became a set of handcuffs on Alucard, and Yoko got a choker on her neck. The deal is complete. Enjoy your second chance at life, Yoko, yelled Alucard, thrusting her out of Naruto's mind and his body. Real world. Naruto was just about to bite into his fish when a massive surge of pain and chakra flooded his body. Naruto yelled out in pain as reddish-orange chakra started to take form next to him. Everyone who saw this was shocked. Kakashi lifted his headband and was about to apply a seal when Naruto's scream died down and the chakra stopped forming. Next to Naruto was a girl who looked 16, stood at 5 feet 7 inches, had a massive chest along with a slender build. Her long red hair did nothing to hide the 3 red tails coming from her tailbone. She looked up and you could see her eyes were red like Kuran eyes, and even though she was nude, everyone was too shocked to really care. I'm finally out and can be with you at last, Naruto-kun, she said, reaching out to Naruto before she passed out. Naruto fell to his knees before taking off his jacket and covering her. Zabuza, I don't know what the hell is going on, but I want you to guard this girl with your life. If anyone comes near her, you are to strike to kill. Am I clear, Zabuza? Said Naruto. Even though he was tired, he still commanded respect. Understood, Lord Hellsing, said Zabuza as Naruto fell forward. Sarah's caught him as Kakashi raised his headband from over his Sharingan. The unusual thing is that both his eyes blazed with hate, anger, and rage. He pulled out a kunai and rushed at Yoko, only for Sarah's and Zabuza to block his path. Sarah's had Sakura's gun pointed at Kakashi's Sharingan, and Zabuza held his sword up ready for a battle if Kakashi got any closer to the girl. What are you doing? That thing destroyed countless lives and killed my sensei. It has to be removed from this world or it could attack Konoha again, said Kakashi in a firm and heated tone. You shall not harm her, Kakashi-san. Remember, these 2 of us and 1 of you, said Sarah's, making Kakashi narrow his eyes. Besides, Lord Hellsing asked me to guard her, so guard her I will, said Zabuza, keeping his guard up. Fine, do what you have to, but when Naruto wakes up we are going to have a very long talk, said Kakashi, walking over to a tree and laying down, still glaring at Yoko. Naruto's mind. Naruto's eyes shot open and he shot up. He used his hand to rub his head. Damn, it feels like I got hit by one of Iruka-sensei's famous combo jutsu, said Naruto as he looked around. His mind was no longer a square, but looked like an old castle. It held the seal of Hellsing. In front of the gates was a guard. When the man saw Naruto he saluted him. Lord Hellsing, Sir Integra and Alucard are waiting for you in Sir Integra's office, said the man. Naruto didn't know who this man was, but he wore a green uniform, with a Hellsing patch on his right arm. Right, please direct me to the office, said Naruto as the man lead him to the office. The man lead Naruto to the office, and standing at the door was the man Naruto saw in the picture. Hello, Lord Naruto. Sir Integra has been keeping her eyes on you for quite some time, said the man, bowing. You're Walter, right? Said Naruto, looking at the man. Yes, I was once the top vampire hunter in Hellsing. I retired and served Sir Integra for the rest of my life like I served her father. I also helped Alucard and Sarah's by making their weapons. Excuse me, said Walter as he knocked on the door. Enter, came a strong yet feminine voice. Naruto walked into the room and saw Alucard standing behind a woman. She had strong blue eyes that looked hard, yet held a deep sadness. Her blonde hair fell to his shoulders. She smiled at Naruto and had a small tear run down her face. Naruto smiled at her. I guess sadness runs in the family, said Naruto as he walked up to Integra. Integra got up, hugged Naruto. You'd be right, Lord Naruto, said Integra as Alucard smiled. Can someone tell me what the hell's going on? Said Naruto, taking the seat across from Integra. That's easy, I guess I'd call you son. Currently your mind is still getting used to the changes, so I was able to break the realm's barrier with God's permission of Kraus and CU. Also, Alucard made a deal with Kyubi that set her free in exchange, binding him to you, said Integra, smiling. She was desperate, plus I didn't want to see someone caged. I know what that's like, said Alucard. Oh, stop crying so we can talk to Naruto, said Integra. That would be great, Mom, said Naruto as they talked for what seemed like hours. All too soon Naruto's mind was finishing up what it had started so Walter, Integra and the other members of Hellsing would leave. Walter gave Naruto specs to weapons and other things while Integra gave Naruto a kiss on the cheek and gave Alucard a full-blown kiss as well as an embrace. I will probably never see you again Integra for that I'm sorry, said Alucard as she began to fade. Integra smiled at him. That's what you said last time Alucard and here we are now. Goodbye for now my love, said Integra kissing him as she completely faded. I see why you fell for her Alucard. She's a strong and loving person, said Naruto as Alucard smiled at him. Sometimes you can't choose who you love. I loved and still love Integra, because she was probably the only person who could understand me, said Alucard as a tear fell out his eye. Better get out of here brat. You don't want your friends to worry about you, said Alucard as Alucard pushed Naruto out of his mindscape. In real world. Naruto awoke with a jolt. He looked around and saw it was dawn. Yoko was sitting next to him wearing his jacket, but it was fully buttoned. Her tails were wagging and she had a happy smile on her face. Hello Yoko-chan, said Naruto as she tackled him. Hi Naruto-kun now that I'm free we can be mates and have many kits together, said Yoko making everyone stop what they were doing. What? Yelled Naruto as Kyuubi kissed him and then pulled back. Ceres was seeing something other than red, she was seeing blazing hell red. She grabbed Yoko by her tails and dragged her away for a bit of a talk. When they were about 30 feet away Ceres let go of Yoko and slammed her into a tree before pinning her body to Yoko's. What the bloody hell do you think you're doing to my mate? Asked Ceres glaring at a smiling Yoko. Oh you must be Ceres. You're much cuter than Naruto's memories show, said Kyuubi eyeing Ceres's body. Ceres blushed. Don't change the subject here, said Ceres feeling hot. Alright, you see, Naruto can mate with more than one woman. A lot more since he's now head of the Hellsing family. You are his undisputed first mate and I won't take that from you. As a matter of fact I enjoyed the show you two put on a few days ago. I could smell your virgin essence the second you and Naruto started mating. I can't blame him for ravaging your body like he did, just looking at you is making me want to do some very naughty things to you right now. You can stay his mate, but I want him as well. Maybe one day I'll play with you too little Ceres, said Yoko kissing Ceres. Ceres was so shocked she loosened her grip on Yoko's arms. Yoko smirked in the kiss as she pulled herself free and spun around so Ceres was pinned to the tree. She moved her arms up and down Ceres's body, before she shoved her tongue into Ceres' mouth getting a small moan out of Ceres. Yoko pulled back and smiled before she leaned into Ceres's ear. If you're a good girl and share Naruto-kun with me and others I'll make sure you're rewarded nicely, said Yoko pulling away and leaving Ceres weak in the knees and horny. Alright I agree, said Ceres as she was able to regain herself. They walked back to the camp and saw Naruto eyeing them with a grin, Sakura and Sasuke talking with Kiba, Zabuza and Haku covering their tracks, and Kakashi just plain glaring at them. You two get things worked out? Asked Naruto as Yoko walked over to him and kissed him hard on the lips. Yes we did. You have to make good on your word to this horny sexy ass vixen that I knew you want to play with, said Kyuubi kissing him again. Aren't you going to stop her? She's kissing on Naruto like she's his woman, said an outraged Kakashi. How dare that demon whore kiss Sensei's son, thought Kakashi. Ceres laughed at Kakashi. Well she is the woman who's spent a lifetime with him even if it was short. Besides Naruto is still my mate, said Ceres walking over to Naruto and kissing him, before sitting in his lap and grinding on him a bit. That motherfucker works fast, thought a slightly jealous Kiba. Damn it brother got another girl to fuck. I wonder will he let me try them out later. Thought Sakura with a perverted grin. I think I'll take some of my fan girls up on their offers. If that's as good as it looks then sex must be freaking amazing, thought the perverted side of Sasuke's brain. Naruto looked around to see everyone's looks. Sakura, Sasuke, Zabuza, and Kiba's looks were approving, Haku looked slightly disappointed, but happy nevertheless, and Kakashi looked murderous. Kakashi you will stop glaring at Yoko-chan like you are. It's very rude, said Naruto frowning at Kakashi. Naruto that woman killed Sensei. She killed your father and many others, said Kakashi as Naruto stood up flaring a sinister black chakra that took the form of a panther with traces of red in it. 1. Yoko did no such thing Kakashi, said Naruto shocking everyone and making them think he'd gone insane. But, started Kakashi only to be cut off. No buts. Instead of attacking Yoko the shinobi and Kunoichi should have been more concerned about getting the villagers away. No the whole of Konoha's military might went into offensive formation. If they had just used a small force to attack in the bulk to get civilians away the village would have been lost and few shinobi would have died. As for my father, Yoko didn't kill him. He committed suicide to stop her, but instead of taking one life he took three. Thank on that Kakashi, said Naruto as he picked up the white kit, and Yoko picked up the black kit. The rest of the way to Konoha was continued in silence. 3 miles from the Konoha gates. The white kit awoke in Naruto's arms with a yawn. It looked around until its face fell on Naruto. The kit jumped from Naruto's arms and transformed. Standing in front of the group was a little girl that looked around 7, long white hair with blue bangs, blue eyes, wearing a blue shirt that said, Two Tails Glory, on the front and 2 white tails on the back, wearing blue jean shorts, and shinobi shoes. The girl yawned and was grabbed in a hug by Yoko, who threw the black kit in the air, making it transform. When it landed on the ground, it landed like an acrobat, and it was a boy around 7, cropped black hair with white highlights, blue eyes. He wore a red shirt with the words 2 is tougher than 1 on the front, brown pants, and shinobi shoes. Misato-chan, you're awake, said Yoko, grabbing the young girl into a hug and spinning her around, making her laugh. Nei-chan, put me down, said a laughing Misato as she was thrown into the air and caught. Still silly as ever, Nei-chan, said the boy, smiling at his older sister. I haven't forgotten about you, Raisin-kun, said Yoko as she started to tickle her brother, making him laugh hard. After the fun and games were over, they made their way to the village. Upon reaching the gates, they saw a Jonin and Chunin on gate duty, but what was wired was that the Jonin had on a red vest. Hey you there, why are you out of uniform? Asked Kakashi. Being one of the senior Jonin, gave him a commanding rank. The Jonin pulled out a cigar and lit it. New stranded dress for Jonin. It was decided about a day after you left. Your team and guests are to go right to the Hokage Tower. Also, Lord Hellsing is expected in a meeting with the council after he talks with the Hokage, said the Jonin. I never got the invite to a meeting, said Naruto, frowning. Tough. Between us all, the civilian council is getting a little too full of themselves, and the shinobi from the non-clans or families without military background are on their side, said the Chunin, frowning as well. It's a real shame when people like that are given power, said Kiba as they began their walk to the Hokage's tower. Haku-chan, keep your bloodline hidden unless you want the council to turn you into breeding stock, Sasuke, knowing the extremes they would go through to have a bloodline under their control. The minute they touch her, they will feel the wrath of the demon hidden in the mist, Zabuza growled out. No, they won't feel that wrath. They shall feel the power of Hellsing on their heads, and I have a lot of extra power today, said Naruto as Yoko looked at Sarah's and Sakura. Can I borrow some clothes? I like Naruto-kun's jacket and all, but I need something to wear, said Yoko, slipping her arms out the overly large sleeves. Come with me real quick, said Sakura, dragging her into the hot springs. They came out 15 minutes later with Yoko wearing a blue jean skirt, a red top that fit her like a glove, and a sleeveless black coat, long black stocking, and female ninja high heels. Naruto looked at them both and raised an eyebrow. I'm not going to ask why, but I'd like my coat back, said Naruto as Yoko gave it to Naruto. Naruto threw it on and they walked to the Hokage Tower. Inside the Hokage Tower, Sarutobi was beyond pissed off, as were every member of the Shinobi Council. The council had demanded that every clan give up 25 million ryu of their family wealth so that they could make a stronger force. Who in the hell do they think they're fooling? Most council members may buy that bullshit, but that was a tactic that the Mizukage used to fuel his bloodline campaign. The former clan's blood money. I think the council is planning something, thought Sarutobi. Not many people knew that before the attack Sarutobi had a spy in the mist. She got all the dirt they needed to start a recurring campaign, but most of the clans were already dead, before the Leaf could step in and take them out of the bloody mist. Sarutobi heard a knock on his door. Enter, said Sarutobi, lighting his pipe. Team 7 reporting with A-rank missing Nin Zabuza Momochi and his adopted daughter Haku Momochi. As well as Yoko, her younger siblings Raisin and Misato, said Kakashi, choosing to keep quiet about who they really were. Ah well then, I'm sure Zabuza can do a little probation time, say a month. Haku may start out as a ninja if she so chooses. I have no clue what Miss Yoko and her siblings shall do. Actually sir, I'd like to be civilian. My family comes from a war-torn background, so I want to change that. I have a bit of training in the ways of battle, said Yoko, telling a half-truth. Sarutobi took out his pipe. That's understandable. I didn't want either of my boys becoming ninja, but they chose to ignore me. Thinking I was trying to limit them, said Sarutobi, remembering the good old days. I'd like to go to the academy, old man Hokage, said Raisin, giving Sarutobi a foxy grin. Has Naruto already started to train his replacement? Kami forbid. The paperwork alone set me back 3 months, thought Sarutobi. I think I'll just go to a normal school, said Misato with a cute as a button smile. That's all up to your sister, as she is your legal guardian, but I'll have the administration have the paperwork ready by this evening, said Sarutobi, handing over 3 red vests and a slip of paper to Haku. Depending on what you want, all you have to do is write it down and send it back to me, and I'll see what I can do, said Sarutobi. Yes sir, said Haku as the door opened and a pissed off Heishi walked in. Hokage-sama, those pricks on the civilian council are starting up the meeting without you or Lord Hellsing present, trying to pull some power moves, said Heishi as he went up in smoke. It was a shadow clone, said Sakura. No time. Kiba, head home and take the twins with you. If this meeting comes to a bloodbath, I don't want them to be used as hostages, said Naruto as Kiba nodded. You have my word as an Inzuka, no harm will befall them, said Kiba taking them away. Let's go. I'm going to teach those bastards about messing with me, said Naruto as they walked out. Council chambers. Danzo had a smug smile on his face. Neither Sarutobi nor Hellsing was there to stop him, the civilian council was on his side, and he had just over 43% of Konoha's military force behind them, not including his own Roots Anbu. Just as the final decisions were about to be made, the door opened and Sarutobi walked in along with Naruto, Sakura, Kakashi, Saraz, Zabuza, and 2 unknown girls. They all looked ready to tear the council chambers to pieces. Who are those 2? Asked Haruno, standing up and pointing her finger at Haku and Yoko. This is Yoko and the other is Haku. Both traveled here with our group after the wave mission, said Naruto as Haruno smiled at him. A smile that made Naruto's bones chill. How sweat, my fiancé brought in 2 little harlots to help revive the Hellsing clan, along with myself, said Haruno with a kind smile that would look better on a devil than it did her. Sarah's enraged pulled out her borrowed pistol. What the hell did you just say, you piece of trash? Yelled Sarah, subconsciously releasing a bit of her powers and letting her fangs grow out. Naruto swiftly stepped in front of her and had her lower the gun, before whispering loving and caring words into her ear, before he turned on the council. What is the meaning of this, Counselor Haruno? Making my mate worry to the point of anger, said Naruto as the black aura appeared. Haruno smiled wider. You see, it was decided to only pair you up with well-breed women from great clans and not just little whores from the streets. So it was decided that I would become your wife. Future Lady Takani Haruno Hellsing Naruto-kun, said Haruno with a schoolgirl giggle. Naruto pinned her with a glare, his hand itching to take Jackal and blow her brains out. I never said the council could pair me as they saw fit. I'm not your puppet, nor am I your toy to use as you see fit. You are nothing to me, so anything the council planned is null and void as of this time, said Naruto, raising his voice and barely holding himself back from gunning them all down. Come boy, don't be foolish. Pairing you with an older woman is easily the best way to start your clan up. What is better is that since she is older and already had a child, she knows how to raise one. We could get a few children out of Takani, said Danzo, only for Yoko to step up. Excuse me, but he already has 2 fiancés. Myself and Sarah's Victoria, said Yoko, holding her hand over her heart. Haruno smiled. What kind of mother would you make? You're a ninja and ninja die all the time, said Haruno, only to be pinned to the wall by Yoko's tails, making everyone gasp. I am no ninja, but with my bloodline I could easily level Konoha, so don't play with you pricks, said Yoko, eyes flashing red for a few seconds. Danzo jumped up and started a chain of one-handed hand signs. Water-style great bullet, yelled Danzo, aiming at Yoko. Naruto drew his sword and carved it in 2. Enough. Council, be warned, I have only so much patience like my ancestral mother Integra, so like her I'll give you one warning. If you ever try anything like that again, that means if you so much as touch a hair on anyone's head that I care for, I'll bring you all down without so much as batting an eyelash. Said Naruto as everyone walked out. Once everyone was back in Sarutobi's office, he quickly dismissed them all except Naruto, who took a seat in front of him. Naruto, it is inevitable. A war is to come. I can feel it in these old bones. The war will be with the council, said Sarutobi, taking out his pipe. Then it's time I started my own plans and you prepare as well, said Naruto, pulling out a folder. What plans, Naruto? Asked Sarutobi. The plans for the revival of the Hellsing organization, of course, said Naruto as Sarutobi opened the file. Sarutobi read over it and smiled. Later that night, Haruno's living room was filled with only the top people in the war that would gain them control of Konoha. Takani, Haruno, Danzo, and Orochimaru, who acted as their commander and recruiter. Other members were there but only to watch. It's almost time, Orochimaru. Soon I'll have Hellsing seed inside me giving me a child and then you can have the Uchiha kid, said Haruno. Of course, but I too need Hellsing. I have 3 very strong girls that could be used to breed powerful bodies for me, said Orochimaru, laughing. We should start soon. Are Cloud and Stone in on this? Asked Danzo as Haruno slid back. No, Cloud has no anger towards Leaf as it was all business. Stone wishes to crush the Leaf, but only when it's at full power. They have been dealing in secret with slave rings. A rumor going around is that they control a container, said Orochimaru. Which one? Asked Haruno, sounding interested. Why, the 4-tailed eagle. It's sealed in a girl named Runa. She'll be here in 3 months to take the Chunin exam along with Cloud's Yugito ni, and Sans Gara of the Sands, said Danzo. Hum. That's perfect. 4 containers going to war in this village is beyond what we could hope for. I'm letting 2 of my more powerful and stable guards enter the Chunin exams. To Yuya and Kimimaro. After that Konoha will be ours, said Orochimaru. Yes. Soon I'll have not only that ungrateful bitch Sakura back under my control, but those 2 sluts who dare to take my fiancé away. I'll let them be used so much by our forces they won't ever be able to walk again, said Haruno with a smile on her face. Naruto's home. Naruto was just finishing a workout program that Alucard thought of in his spare time. Naruto stood up and looked at his calendar. It had been nearly 5 days since the incident with the council, and Naruto's team was still on leave for another 2 weeks. The civilian council had also tried to push Naruto into a marriage with Haruno harder, but a quick threat to leave the village stopped that. Naruto still saw Haruno a few times, and every time it was like she was trying to flirt with him in some way or form, mostly just swagging her hips a bit. Naruto walked into his room and grabbed a towel and walked down the stairs. Not many people knew this, but Naruto had a dojo, library, and hot springs built into the building. Naruto had brought out a lot of condemned buildings in the area, taking up some space, and then mowed them down, making way for his current building to be expanded and fixed up. Each floor now contained 10 3-bedroom apartments. The hot springs had a cover-me-up seal that prevented anyone from looking into the hot springs from the outside. No free shows here. While on his way down, he was thinking about Yoko. They got along fine and whatnot. She was also quite kind and caring and loved pranks to death. They shared a few light kisses from time to time. Yoko even gave them to Sarah's leaving the vampirus weak in the knees. She was the only person who could get Naruto with one. The last one still sent chills up his spine. She had put a genjutsu on him for a day, letting him walk around, and needless to say his fangirl population increased tenfold that day. Naruto removed his cloths and prepared to walk into the hot springs. When he opened the door up, he saw a nude Yoko lying in the steaming water with her arms above her head. The guy downstairs liked the sight before him. Hello Yoko-chan, said Naruto, slipping into the water. Yoko lifted up her head and gave Naruto a sexy smile. Damn, he looks so good, I just want. No Yoko-chan, hold it in. I can't do it anymore. Being near him like this makes me want to mate him even more, but what if you get pregnant? I'll just deal with it. Besides, I can stop it with a simple jutsu. Alright, but try not to be too horny, thought both sides of Yoko's brain as she swam over to Naruto. How are you doing, Naruto-kun? Asked Yoko, getting out the water and wrapping her arms around his neck before kissing it. I'm doing good, Yoko-chan, said Naruto. That's BS if I've ever heard it. How many men would kill to be here in a hot springs with a smoking hot chick kissing them? Thought Naruto as Yoko stopped kissing his neck. Naruto-kun, mate with me now, said Yoko into his ear, before she climbed into his lap feeling his tool. Are you sure, Yoko-chan? Asked Naruto as she kissed him. You're the only person I'd ever even consider mating. I knew your life better than anyone. I knew your fears, I knew your pain, I knew your secrets, and I knew your hopes, so please let me into your heart, said Yoko, kissing Naruto. Warning, lemon. Naruto deepened the kiss with Yoko before grabbing her left breast and squeezing it hard. Yoko let out a squeal, moan at this. Naruto's other hand went lower and grabbed her firm ass. Yoko jumped slightly, and rubbed her womanhood against his member, getting a slight moan out of both of them. Naruto pulled away from the kiss and lightly bit her right breast, getting a gasp from Yoko. Naruto started to suck on her breast harder, making her moan out lightly. Yoko moved one of her arms from around him and started to rub up and down his member. Naruto let out a groan of pleasure. Not to be outdone, he grabbed her nipple and pinned it, making Yoko moan out. Naruto then felt something squirt into his mouth. It tasted sweet. He pulled back. Oh, see that Yoko was lactating. Yoko-chan, your milk is so sweet, said Naruto, going back to sucking her nipples. Yoko moaned as he picked her up out the water and laid her on the floor. He then moved to the other nipple, making Yoko moan louder. Naruto then moved his right hand down and used it to trace the outside of her lower lips. Yoko shivered in excitement. Naruto then sucked on her breast hard, before he plunged 2 of his fingers into her. Yoko arched her back and let out a silent scream. The feeling was just too incredible to describe. He moved his fingers in and out at a fast pace, making sure that she would come. He then moved his mouth from her luscious breasts to her womanhood. His fingers were replaced by his tongue. Feeling the wet organ inside her moving made Yoko squirm. Naruto thrust his tongue into Yoko for a little longer until she grabbed his hair while panting and moaning wildly. Naruto-kun, moaned out Yoko as her orgasm hit her. Naruto sat where he was and lapped up all her juices. Lemon end. Naruto moved up and kissed Yoko. How was that, Yoko-chan? Said Naruto, kissing her neck. Yoko smiled before she wrapped her arms around him. Let's just say that I'm glad you'll be the first man I've ever had sex with, said Yoko, kissing Naruto. Clank. Naruto and Yoko broke their kiss to look up at a red-faced, open-mouthed woman who was wrapped in a towel. She stood at about 5 feet 6 inches, DD cup assets, long brown hair wrapped in a braid, brown eyes, and orange markings on her cheeks. Naruto gulped. Hello Rin-san, said Naruto as he and Yoko stood up fully nude. It didn't help matters that he was fully erect. Rin let out a small scream as she covered her eyes. Naruto-kun, please cover up, yelled Rin. Naruto and Yoko both grabbed a towel and wrapped it around themselves. Alright Rin-san, we're covered up now, said Yoko as Rin uncovered her eyes. I'll see you two upstairs in my apartment on the 4th floor, said Rin as she walked away. Naruto, is that bad? Asked Yoko, putting her finger to her lips. Naruto groaned and fell backwards into the water. More than you know, Yoko-chan. More than you know, said Naruto, knowing that a beating or yelling was to come. Rin's apartment. Rin's apartment was pretty normal. She and Naruto had painted the walls blue after he had the Hokage by the apartment. Near the door sat a lover's seat. On the wall nearest the hall was a long couch, and Rin sat in a small recliner. All around her living room you could see pictures of her, Kakashi, the 4th, and an unknown boy with goggles. She even had a few of her and Naruto at the park, ramen stand with a yame, and at the Hokage tower, but the one that stood out was the one that had a blushing 7-year-old Naruto getting kissed on both cheeks by a blushing 10-year-old Ayame and a blushing 14-year-old Shizune with a laughing Rin, Sasuke, Sarutobi, Tsunade, and Chuki in the background. Rin sat in the recliner wearing a short white skirt, black tank top that barely covered her, and some slippers. Her hair was undone from its braid. If one were to guess, you'd think she was a supermodel. Naruto and Yoko sat in the love seat. Naruto had on a red shirt and black long shorts. Yoko preferred a white tank top and hip hugger pants. Rin had a soda in hand and looked at the two. I'm not going to tell you what you can and can't do, Naruto. I've treated you like a child when you were younger, but that has stopped. We barely get together as it is now that you're a ninja. What am I doing? I feel like a mother talking to her son, said Rin, setting her soda down. Naruto smiled at her. You've been like a mother to me for as long as I've known you, but you've also been my big sister. It's hard to find someone who could take your place in my heart, Rin-san, but you're right, I hardly ever get to see you now. I normally have Sundays off. So how about we get together then and talk, said Naruto, making Rin smile. Sure, but try not to have sex in the hot springs. I like to bathe without the smell of sex in the air. It makes me horny like my bitch of a sister and niece, and I don't want to go looking for my girl in Anbu, said Rin with a smile. Yoko jumped on Naruto's lap. No promises, I'm in the middle of my mating cycle right now, said Yoko, kissing Naruto. Ah, well then good luck, Naruto, you'll need it for a horny vixen like her. I can smell it, said Rin, feeling the heat herself. Yeah, said Naruto as he opened the door. On the other side of the door stood Kakashi, just about to knock. Hello Naruto. I'm just dropping by to see Rin-chan, said Kakashi, eyeing her and then looking at Yoko with a mild dose of hate. Rin-san? Asked Yoko. Rin just smiled. Don't be troubled, Yoko-chan. Naruto, why don't you and Yoko go out for a bit? I knew Sakura, Sarah's, and Haku are shopping now, while Zabuza is training at the Jonin training grounds, said Rin as Naruto grabbed Yoko's hand and they left. Kakashi walked in and closed the door. As beautiful as ever, said Kakashi, smiling as Rin frowned, knowing his game. Kakashi, say what you have to say and be done with it. I have a garden on the roof to attend to, said Rin as Kakashi sat down. To the point as always. That girl that was here a minute ago, started Kakashi. Was the Kyuubi, who somehow got free from the seal sensei put on his son, said Rin, shocking Kakashi. How did you know? Asked Kakashi. She smelled like the Kyuubi, down to the last participle in the air. It was simple after that, said Rin, picking up her soda. Then why didn't you say anything? Said Kakashi, standing up. Rin shrugged. She seemed nice enough and there was no hate, anger, or malice in her actions, plus she and Naruto make a cute couple if you ask me, said Rin with a giggle. How can you sit here and joke when the thing that killed Sensei is trying to seduce his son? Asked an outraged Kakashi as Rin stopped giggling and glared at Kakashi. Sensei's son this, Sensei's son that. He is not Sensei's son, he never has been. He's Naruto Uzumaki, my god brother, and that all he'll ever be to me, because I love him like a little brother, said Rin, standing up. Even though she had not been a ninja for 12 years, she was still one of the most feared. Healing Hands Rin. It was ironic that she was called that because with her hands she ended more than 300 lives. Even Kakashi knew not to fuck with her. But Rin, that's just who he is. He's Sensei's legacy, said Kakashi, only to receive a kick to the midsection and an uppercut to the jaw, laying him on the floor. Kami. I don't know what I ever saw in you, Kakashi. This is the reason we never worked out, you prawn-loving asshole. You see the world in shades of black, white, and gray. If you can't see past your own petty hate for Yoko, then never come back. Said Rin, picking Kakashi up and throwing him out the door. But, started Kakashi. No buts. Until you get your act together, you are to stay away from this apartment building. If I catch you near here, I'm going to not only remove your Sharingan, I'm removing your manhood as well with a rusty knife, said Rin. Seeing Kakashi wince, she slammed the door in his face. Kakashi sighed and stood up. Why can't she just see things my way? Said Kakashi before poofing away. In Naruto's apartment. It had been nearly 3 hours since Naruto and Yoko returned from Rin's apartment and they were in a full-blown make-out session. Naruto pulled back for some air. They were lying on his couch. Yoko on top, Naruto on bottom. You knew I'm not in full-blown heat anymore, so I'll let the sex slide by me this time, but next time, you better have your plans cleared for the night. Alright Yoko-hime, said Naruto. Good, now go out and have some fun, said Yoko, getting up and leaving to the bedroom. Naruto followed her and watched as she striped naked and got under the covers. What am I going to do? It's barley 7, said Naruto. Go to a shinobi club, said Yoko, curling up in a ball. Why don't I just stay here? Asked Naruto, sitting on the bed. Because I knew that if you don't have at least 4 fiancés by the time you hit 14, the council can step in and choose, also at least one of them has to be with child, said Yoko, looking at Naruto. How do you know all this? Asked Naruto, looking at her. You knew I always liked reading minds. You can find many interesting things if you knew where to look, said Yoko. Naruto looked at her and sighed. He walked over to his closet and pulled out a pair of blue jean pants, a blue button-up shirt, and a matching hat. He also pulled out a pair of blue shades. Alright then, I guess I'm off then, said Naruto, leaning over and giving her a tender kiss. If you pick up any girls, make sure to take any fun to their house, said Yoko. I'm not like that, Yoko-chan, said Naruto, walking out. Naruto left the building, but set the security seals so nobody but the people who lived there and guests could get in. He walked around for about 30 minutes before he found a small club called The Grind. He walked up to the door only for a man to block him. Shinobi only club, said the man. Naruto pulled out his headband and tucked it back in after 15 seconds. You're good, said the man, moving. Naruto walked into the club to see a circular room, a large dance floor in the center with tables all around. It was a little empty, only about 50 people. Naruto walked off to the farthest table and saw 2 women there. The first had long black hair, red eyes, rounded C-cup breasts, shapely legs, wearing a black mini skirt that stopped at her upper thighs, a red long-sleeve shirt that hugged her like a glove, black stockings and red open-toed heels. She scored at least a 10 on the knockout radar. If she scored a 10, her friend was pushing at least 11.5. She had long purple hair pulled up, brown eyes accompanied by a very sexy smirk on her face, D-cup breasts. She wore a black see-through slick shirt that you could see her nipples through, but couldn't see all her assets, and purple short shorts that looked so sexy on her with long high heels boots. The thing that made this hotter is that the purple-haired woman was facing the red-eyed woman, grinding on her, and had her hands on her breasts. The red-eyed woman was moaning lowly. Anko-chan, stop. We don't know who's watching, said the red-eyed woman. The purple-haired woman pinched her nipples, thought the shirt getting a moan. Who cares, Kurenai-chan? Let them watch, because they can't touch, and most of the assholes and bitches in here are piss drunk. I'm going to have my way with you here or at home, said Anko with a smirk as she kissed Kurenai. Alright, you win. You might even get me in the chains tonight, said Kurenai, grabbing Anko's ass. Naruto whistled as he sat down in their booth. Damn, that's hot, said Naruto, stopping them. Anko smirked at Naruto. Sorry, I'm only taking women tonight, said Anko as Kurenai also smirked. That's a damn shame, said Naruto as he called a waitress over. The waitress had long brown hair, brown eyes, and wore a black top and skirt with black stockings. Naruto-kun, I see you decided to take a little while off. Come by for a bowl of ramen at the stand, said the girl. You knew Ayame? Asked Anko. She and Kurenai had been trying to get into that girl's skirt for more than a year now. Naruto picked up a drink Ayame placed in front of him before slapping her ass, getting a nice blush from her. Of course I know Ayame-chan. We've been friends for years. Hell, she's the one who taught me how to kiss a girl and go down on a girl at age 12, said Naruto, taking a sip of his drink. Anko slid over to Naruto and slipped under him, while placing his hand on his crotch. Tell me more, Naruto, said Anko in a very sexy voice. Kurenai called over Ayame and ordered a large bottle of red wine. When Ayame started to walk away, Kurenai eyed her swagging ass. She popped the top and took a massive swig. She couldn't help it. Asuma was addicted to cigarettes, Kakashi his porn books, and she had a thing for red wine, which was usually followed by hot, passionate, loving sex with Anko. Naruto started to talk with Anko and Kurenai, getting to know them. He learned Kurenai loved genjutsu and romance novels with women who had woman or male lovers. Anko was a little different. She liked rabbits and absolutely loved blood. As the night wore on, they all soon found themselves wasted, or in Naruto's case, slightly buzzed. So handsome would we blow this place and head back to our place, said Anko getting behind Kurenai and grabbing her breasts making Kurenai moan. Naruto was impressed. She only had a slight slur to her speech now, but you could tell by the way she moved that she was completely intoxicated. Naruto could not deny that he was turned on by the two women before him and only a fool would turn that down. Lucky for Naruto he was no fool. Naruto pulled his wallet out and threw some fat bills on the table before calling Ayame over. Ayame walked over as sexy as ever. Those are for the drinks and this is your tip, said Naruto grabbing her by the waist and pulling her into a kiss. Ayame was so into the kiss she never noticed that Naruto slipped a large wad of cash into her skirt. Naruto pulled back and Ayame smiled at him. That was one hell of a tip. I'll have to return it someday, said Ayame as she kissed Naruto on the cheek and walked off. Let's go ladies, said Naruto as he wrapped his arms around them and used a portal to get them there quicker. Outside of Kurenai, Anko's apartment. When the portal opened they stood right outside the door. Kurenai looked at him in awe. How did you do that? She asked grabbing his arm. Naruto leaned down and licked her ear. Everyone has their tricks, said Naruto. But for tonight they're all ours, said Anko kissing his neck as Kurenai opened the door. Warning lemon. The living room was not large, but not small either. The walls were wine red and they had a small couch with a widescreen TV. Anko locked the door while Kurenai pushed Naruto onto a recliner. You watch while we play and you might get to join in, said Kurenai as Anko slipped a hand under Kurenai's skirt. Kurenai moaned slightly as Anko began to rub her womanhood. The fact she didn't wear panties helped. Naruto could tell she was just licking by the way some of her honey ran down her leg. Anko wasted no time and removed Kurenai's shirt and her skirt, before attacking her womanhood with her fingers. Kurenai was nearly screaming. Anko-chan I'm about to, started Kurenai only for Anko to stop. You knew the rules when here. So repeat them to our guest, said Anko as she put Kurenai on her hands and knees. Kurenai crawled to Naruto and pulled his pants and boxers off while Anko took the shirt off. Anko-sama is my mistress. Whatever she says I do, said Kurenai acting completely submissive. Anko slapped Kurenai ass hard getting a yelp of pleasure out of her. That's right my sexy little bitch. Now I'm going to give Naruto a little strip tease while you suck his cock, and he'd better say that that was the best damn blowjob he's ever had, or else, said Anko slapping Kurenai on the ass once more. Kurenai compiled by first giving Naruto a hand job. Naruto let out a slight moan. Her hands were silk-like. Once Kurenai felt Naruto at max, she licked the tip of his member. Naruto groaned and then started to massage her scalp. Kurenai knowing she did something right started to suck on the tip of his member. She went lower until the tip was touching the back of her mouth. Kurenai started to suck hard and swirl her tongue around. Naruto was feeling the pressure build up. While Kurenai was sucking him off, Anko was dancing to some beat only she could hear and had removed her top and was working her shorts off leaving her boots. It took Anko only seconds to throw them in a corner of the room. Anko started to do a dirty dance on the table, before she sat down and started to finger herself while squeezing her breasts. Kurenai was now sucking Naruto harder and deep-throating him making it even better. Damn Kurenai-chan you're fucking incredible, said Naruto as Anko got up and shoved a hand into Kurenai while she still fingered herself. Anko started to finger both herself and Kurenai harder until both came with a scream. The vibrations in Kurenai's mouth made Naruto blast his seed into it. Kurenai pulled back and found herself kissed by Anko. Naruto was instantly ready to plow them. Now Kurenai-chan you are to lay down and lick me while Naruto-kun here fucks you into submission, said Anko squeezing Kurenai's tits namking her moan. Yes mistress, said Kurenai as Anko sat on the ground and spread her legs wide. Kurenai got on her hands and knees and started to lick Anko's pussy making her moan. Naruto could not help himself as he felt his vampiric lust come out. Naruto seeing Kurenai on all fours like that just made him want her more. Putting his dick at her pussy lips he thrust into her hard. Kurenai stopped eating Anko and let out a small scream of passion. Naruto pulled all the way out and slammed right back into her making her moan as she thrust her tongue into Anko. Anko was having a blast. She enjoyed the licking she was getting, but watching Naruto fuck Kurenai was getting her off a whole lot faster and as hard as he was slamming into her she was going to be sore in the morning. Kurenai tried to focus on pleasing Anko, but what Naruto was doing to her turned out most of her senses except for pleasure. Every time he pulled back and pounded into her she felt it. He may not have been going fast, but with how strong he was doing it he didn't need to. Naruto pulled back and thrusted into her again. Naruto felt her tighten around him, so he sped up his thrusts just a bit. Kurenai stopped licking Anko and started to finger her at a rapid pace. Anko and Kurenai were both screaming out as they came. Naruto thrust into Kurenai a few more times before he just let himself go inside her. He pulled out and leaned down kissing Kurenai on the neck. Anko was barely able to pull herself up before she reached under the couch and pulled out a plug, 2 needles and clamps. She got behind Kurenai and stuck the needle in her before pushing it, filling her with some kind of liquid and plug bother her ass and pussy. She used the needle on her breasts before she clamped them. Alright my cute little bitch. You are to watch as Naruto-kun fucks me in both my ass and my pussy. If I'm satisfied, I'll let him have a bit more fun with you, said Anko as she turned around only to find herself against the wall. I want to see how tight your ass is, Anko-chan, said Naruto into her ear while grabbing her breast. Then fuck me, said Anko. Naruto did just that as he entered her fast. Anko screamed out at the feeling. Her ass was filled and it was like nothing she ever felt before. Naruto was groaning. Anko was fucking tight. Naruto pulled back and rammed into her, making Anko moan out. He continued this for over 10 minutes before he pulled out and made her face him. He sent one of his hands down and found she was dripping wet. He felt a few of her juices running down her leg. Naruto used his cock and traced her outer lips, making her whimper. She wanted his cock inside her so bad. What do you want, Anko-chan? Asked Naruto as he continued to play with her. I want you, Naruto-kun, said Anko as Naruto pushed in slightly only to pull back out. No, tell me what you want, said Naruto as he started to suck on her now lactating breasts. Fuck me. Put that big cock inside my dirty little pussy and make me your little whore to fuck as you see fit. Yelled Anko, needing it bad. Tacking pity on Anko, Naruto thrust into her. Anko moaned before she felt herself lifted up and placed firmly on the wall, just making Naruto's cock go deeper and hit her spot, making her cum. Damn, Anko-chan, you're tighter than Kurenai-chan is, said Naruto. Please, Naruto, fuck me as hard and fast as you can. Moaned out Anko, wrapping her arms around his neck. Naruto then pulled out and thrust into Anko, making her shout his name. Naruto moved at a fast pace, and every time Anko yelled out his name, Kurenai on the side was ready to bust. She was whimpering out because she was feeling a strong fire burning inside her as she watched her two lovers fuck each other. Naruto continued having his way with Anko as he bent down and started to lick and suck on her breasts. Anko didn't hold out much longer and came yelling out Naruto's name. Naruto continued to thrust into Anko, prolonging the orgasm for another minute. When it finally died down, Anko was panting up a storm and Naruto was not even finished. Anko had 8 orgasms before Naruto shot his seed inside her. Anko looked at Naruto before passing out with a smile on her face. Naruto pulled out of Anko and sat her on the couch. Naruto was still in a vampiric lust, so he turned his eyes to the still whimpering Kurenai. Naruto removed the clamps on her nipples and she started licking milk badly. Naruto then removed both plugs and Kurenai had a mass orgasm. She started to finger herself and suck her own breasts. Naruto-sama, please fuck me, said Kurenai, spreading her pussy lips and legs wide. Naruto entered Kurenai swiftly, making her moan. Naruto bit down on her left breast and started to suck it as he started to thrust into her. Kurenai was moaning loudly as she started to meet Naruto's thrust, setting her off even more. Kurenai pulled Naruto away from her breasts and kissed him. He shoved his tongue into her mouth as his thrusts became harder and faster. Kurenai could feel herself about to explode from the things happening. Naruto-sama, I'm going to cum, said Kurenai as Naruto thrust into her harder. I'm coming as well, Kurenai-chan, said Naruto. They both hit their orgasms at the same time. Kurenai yelled out Naruto's name and passed out. Naruto, still buried inside Kurenai, pulled out of her with a wet plop. Lemon end. Naruto came out of his vampiric state and looked at the 2 women he just had sex with. He checked them both to make sure they weren't marked. After he did that, he picked Kurenai up and placed her in the first bed he found. After he grabbed Anko and placed her in the same bed, he climbed in with them and fell asleep. Next morning, Anko woke up feeling rather good. She was a bit sore between her legs, but other than that she was freaking good. She noticed 2 presences in her bed and smirked. We probably convinced Ayame-chan to join us, thought Anko as she opened her eyes. She looked behind her and saw a man with wild multicolored hair. Anko looked horrified for a second before last night came flooding back to her. Anko shivered, remembering all the orgasms she had. Just thinking about it was making her horny. Kami, the sex with him was just out there, thought Anko as she woke up Kurenai. Kurenai stared at Anko. What, Anko? Asked a sore and sexually drained Kurenai, who too was remembering last night. Let's give Naruto-kun a good wake up, said Anko as she kissed Kurenai and then Naruto. Kurenai got the idea and started to fondle Anko's breasts. Naruto awake, needing air. After opening his eyes, he saw he was being kissed by Anko. After returning the kiss, she let up. Naruto leaned over and kissed Kurenai. Naruto got up and walked to the living room and grabbed his clothes and put them on. Anko and Kurenai came out swinging their hips. Naruto gave the 2 women a foxy smirk. Ladies, that was a hell of a night. We'll have to do it again sometimes, said Naruto as Kurenai grabbed a piece of paper and pen and wrote their number on the paper. Call us. Next time it will be a proper date, said Kurenai. From sex to dating, you're a bit backwards, Kur-chan, said Naruto, making Kurenai turn pink. Later, Foxy-chan, said Anko, kissing him again. Naruto also got a last-minute kiss from Kurenai before he left. Anko pushed Kurenai onto the couch and started to grind on her. I'm still in the mood and we both have the day off, said Anko, smirking at Kurenai. It's going to be a long day, thought Kurenai. With Naruto. Naruto was on his way home when he heard Alucard in his mind. I have to admit, kid, that you played with those two well. Integra was the same as that Kurenai woman when in bed. I could tell you some stories, said Alucard with a chuckle. Naruto groaned. Alucard, I don't want to hear how you screwed Grandma Integra. That's something I don't want haunting my mind at night, thought Naruto, cutting the link. Naruto walked into his apartment only to find a pissed-looking Rin. Where have you been? Asked Rin, making it clear he was not getting away. I was out at a shinobi club, said Naruto, sweating. Shinobi clubs in Konoha close at 1 a.m. I also got a call from Anko about 10 minutes ago saying she just had great sex with Kurenai and a guy named Naruto, and since you're the only one named Naruto in this whole damn village, I guess it was you, said Rin, grabbing Naruto by the shirt. Oh shit, oh shit, oh shit. Rin's going to kill me, thought Naruto as Rin pulled off his shirt and threw him into the street. Hellsing isn't wearing his shirt, yelled Rin. Instantly all his fangirls came from nowhere and chased him. Why me? Naruto thought. Just the old Hellsing charm, curse, said Alucard, laughing his ass off.